way things have worked out, I could have done it yesterday morning or afternoon or whenever because I was trying to get hay baled. And
Apparently did not happen today with the rain.
no, it didn't happen yesterday either because the belt broke Friday. Because, that probably built the first bale of hay in America ever. It's an old-ass baler. Built like 33,464 bales of hay.
It's got they've got odometers on it?
It's all around computers and shit, so it's got a counter.
No shit.
So...
I didn't realize it was tracking that data as well.
It's like having mileage on a car.
Right.
Yeah, so like, if you want to trade the baler in, well, how many bales is it done? Oh, it's done 36,000 bales. You're like, we'll take it from you, but you're not going to get shit for it.
Right. How many, I guess, in a year, how many bales would
It
you
all
take?
depends on the farm. For me, a big year is probably like 400 bales.
400 bales?
Yeah,
how many acres is that cover?
I've been cutting on 26 acres of hay, and I average about 3 bales an acre. But see, they bought that baler used, and that baler's over. It's the mechanic was there yesterday. Like he was, counting back on the model number. So that's probably like a late '90s, early 2000s baler. Because my dad and my uncle bought it used from an actual hay farmer. So it probably came with 25,000 bales already built on it.
Shit.
So the bale ranges between 800 and 1,000 pounds. So you're talking, let's say on the high end, that's over like 3 million pounds of hay.
Good God. How much does a bale weigh?
Between 800 and 1,000 pounds.
Holy shit.
Depending on, and it's really crazy. It's not that much. Like you cut like a swath of hay. Like I got a 12-foot hay mower.
Mm-hmm.
You might as well say I'll cut 20 yards of hay, and that'll be 1 bale. So it's not that much. It's like, how much is a pound of feather weigh?
Right.
It's like you don't really process it's just fucking grass. Grass has mass and
yeah, dude. There's some grass. It's in my backyard. Last year.
What kind of grass are we talking about?
Legal grass for starters, sir. But this last year I was like, during the summer, it's like, well, that's some pretty cool looking grass. And I cut it, so I was like, well, spread it out a little bit.
Bad idea.
Huge mistake. Huge mistake. Whenever the summer first started up this year, I went to the backyard and was like, all right, I know it's about that time.
Yeah.
This shit was like 8 feet tall, like grass. Like I'm not saying like all of it, like I'm in some monsoon-soaked jungle in like Asia or something, but like the tall stalks or whatnot, like 8 feet tall at least. Like,
have you seen a seed head on it yet?
No. The blades themselves, though, very thick, like wide. Like it looks like almost like it would be like plastic plants in a doctor's office or something.
How wide are the blades on this grass?
Probably about, because it's split down the middle where that membrane would be.
Yeah.
I would say about 1 inch on each side of the membrane.
If it ever comes...
Hold on, somebody. Turn this off. Sorry.
If you ever... I haven't looked at it, but it sounds like Eastern gabbergrass.
Eastern gabbergrass?
Gammagrass.
Gammagrass.
Yeah, if it's Eastern gabba or gamma, I think it's gabbergrass. It is a native species.
Like a swamp, like to the
it's
ecosystem?
Or like you... It's just a native forage. It's been here. It's like, but I get to look at the seed head. When the seed head comes out, you ever seen like the Bahia grass, like normal yard grass, has a little seed pod that comes out. It's got the little seed
almost
stems.
looks like plants trying to show what a pine cone would be.
Yes, yeah. This comes out. Apparently, this type of grass is a cousin of corn, because the seed pod comes out and it looks like little tiny corn kernels.
Huh.
And it's actually getting real. There's a kind of a movement in the cattle industry to kind of get back to natural forages.
Mm-hmm.
Because, start in the 50s and 60s, the university started developing strains of grass that were like for hay or, not naturally around here.
Mm-hmm.
So, and the thing is they work fine as long as you have a good controlled, like
livestock to trim it down.
Well, no, like it's like you're able to stay. You keep your pH good in the soil. You fertilize it, all that type of stuff, which creates overhead. Overhead eats into your profits.
Right.
Easy shit. But now, like, there's a lot of people trying to go back to what's natural in this area because it doesn't require a lot of like care and overhead. There's all overhead put into it. Like, so the Eastern gamma grass, you throw it out there, it's basically used to this area, so it's going to grow. It's acclimated to this, this area of the country. It's actually all over the world. Mm-hmm. Actually, all over America and the Midwest too.
Oh wow.
Some of the major varieties that like people use now. This is probably completely people are completely uninterested.
Everybody's turned off already.
But
this is some stupid shit. They're talking about grass. What is heretical about this?
Most of your pastures are going to be Alicia grass, types of Bermuda grass, and Bahia grass. But like, they have relatively shallow root systems, go down about 2 or 3 feet. Eastern grama grass are going down 20 feet.
Holy shit!
So it's highly drought resistant. And
now, what is interesting here, because like the topography here is. We're a little elevated. I think we're like 200 feet above sea level. Mm-hmm. But I mean, there's still like once you get off like the hillside, like there's swamps like all around.
Yep.
But like some of the plants I've noticed like out just from like doing like yard work and getting I guess closer into the subtropics and less into the temperate zone as far as like
swamp plants they're different, man.
Yeah. I've noticed I've got like a lot of little tree snakes that they're only like about 2 feet longer, so they look like pythons, but like micro machine versions of them. They're really pretty. I'll know whenever they're outside, like coming down like the side of the house, because Bonkers will like start living up to his namesake and like.
Are you sure? Are you not like baby rattlesnakes?
They are not rattlers. They had a different head. Like I said, the head was like it's like a reticulated python, so it's got a almost like a snout.
It's a rounded head.
A round head.
Rounded. It's like most of your constrictors, their heads are kind of rounded.
Yeah, like it did not have the heart-shaped viper head.
Yeah,
like that's I learned a lot as a toddler. I remember, and not about like stuff that I find like cool nowadays, but I mean it's still cool, but like animals and whatnot. Yeah. Like I remember being like 3 or even 4 years old and knowing things about snakes and dinosaurs and sharks, and that was like one of the things to I could never remember the coral snake and the other. I think it's a type of king snake.
It's the coral snake and the coral king snake. It's red on yellow kills a fellow, red on black friend of Jack.
Yeah, but I remembered always like that distinction with the head of the snake. Yep. It's like, well, if you see towards like the back where the skull rests on, I guess its spine, its neck, or whatever.
Their neck, the whole body.
Yeah, their neck, their back.
No, don't do it.
I think they only have one hole.
Yeah, they have a cochlea.
Is that what it's called? Or you got two
balls.
orifices that merge into one?
Yeah, their balls are up in their body.
Yeah, like alligators, their genitals are like all inside of them.
Yeah, I think it pops out.
Yeah, I think it's like a shark as well. Like a shark's got 2 dicks, if I'm not mistaken.
Most dolphins, whales, like all their stuff's up in them.
Mm-hmm. They've got bones too. Like humans are one of the few mammals that does not have a penis bone. Like our erections are determined on the circulatory system.
Imagine how painful it would be. I mean, I know part of breaking your dick now is bad. Imagine it's like a legit fucking bone you broke.
I don't know. I've thought I've broken my dick before.
It doesn't take much. Like,
oh my god, that would be the worst thing. Like, I think maybe the aliens or God or whoever like made us. Like on the prototype, they were like, oh, so how's the humans coming along? Very good, sir. And the breeding, and just like catastrophic. I think it'd be something like bees, right? Like like bees, like their dick breaks off, and other insects as well. Their dick will break off, and the female to seal her up.
Imagine if like humans had to make like praying medicines did.
Oh my god,
Like
man.
you-
I'd be gay so fucking quick, dude. Fuck that shit.
What a fucked up like.
And that's just part of nature.
Yeah, bugs are fucked up. See, like, come on, like snakes don't bother me. As long as I can see a snake and a snake sees me and it's not a rattlesnake.
Yeah.
Or a moccasin, I don't worry about it. Like, I will go out
The
of the way.
surprise will scare me,
Yes.
but that could be anything from like a butterfly to a snake to a cockroach to a cat. Like, I'm just easily startled, I've found. But like seeing a snake or seeing like gators and stuff like that, like
I do not like alligators.
gators are fine when they're on the land. I remember when we were in high school.
When you fuck that gator? Yeah.
Fuck the gator!
No, that like adolescent gator was on the track, and like it was like a Thursday practice, so we're like around the field, and there was
yeah.
it was like an adolescent gator, and like all the tough hoods and rednecks were like like getting scared, and I was like, what the fuck, y'all never seen Steve Irwin? And like I took my shirt off and threw it on the gator's head, and
Picked it up and
yeah,
fucked it.
oh god, man, worst decision ever.
Held its mouth open and everything.
God.
But like I'll go out of the way, not like oak snakes and stuff like that. I will go out of the way. Like, I will slow down before I see a snake before I run over it. Oh, it's an oak snake. I'll try to go around it.
Mm-hmm.
I'll fuck up a rattlesnake in a heartbeat.
I've only I've only encountered a rattlesnake maybe 2 or 3 times, like a handful, like less than, you know what I mean? Not in like this is a rattlesnake, but like in the wild or driving or something. They've usually been pretty mean.
Yeah, they have a reputation for that. Best way to tell a rattlesnake when they're crossing the road is their tail will be up.
Mm.
So when you just see that, just hit the gas.
You ever seen moccasins walk on water? Like not swim, but walk on the water?
Like Jesus?
Like, I mean, kind of. Jesus didn't have limbs and was moving like an S, just sort of propelling itself across the water.
I have not, but I know that they will come out of, if you're in the river fishing, they will fall out of the tree and reckon like, hey, I'll just go ride with you. And you're like, no, get away.
Yeah, man. Like, snakes, like, they never bothered me until, and like, I mean, they still don't bother me, you know what I mean? But like, I guess I didn't have a respect or a fear for them until I could see like how they could lunge and like strike, and like some of them legit will like float, like they'll climb up a tree and then just like a flying squirrel.
Yeah, they'll kind of puff up and sail.
Yeah, and it gets some what do you call it, air resistance up under them.
Like an airfoil, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, man. Which I mean, that's just like it's so wild, like to think about like stuff like that. That like that's just like part of like the program.
Like divergent types of life there. Like you have like mammals like us. You have primates, and you have mammals who live in the water, and then you have fish, and then you have reptiles, and then like you have bugs like who are fucking absolutely alien. Some of them are like you have there's a fucking roach, but you have like a praying mantis, which you can tell is like a thinking, calculating insect.
Yeah.
And that's out of all the bugs I hate, that's the one I hate the most. Is because
it's the most nightmarish.
when you there's a praying mantis around, it's watching you.
Yeah.
Like it's like you just, if I was your size, you'd be fucked.
Yeah.
You'd be mad as shit.
Yeah, they would own the planet.
Yeah. See, I'm like, I don't like spiders, but as I've gotten older, they don't bother me as much. Still don't care for them.
I don't. If they're outside or something, I mean, whatever.
I don't want I don't want to be sitting and see like a wolf spider come across the table. I'm gonna probably break the table. Trying to kill it.
I've learned that whether it's been like a wolf spider or a rat, any animal that makes its way into the house that is like
unwelcome,
larger than a palmetto bug, because like a palmetto bug's like, good God, that's a big bug. You know what I mean? Anything larger than that, my reaction out of like shock and fear has always been the word goo. I guess I'm trying to say God,
Yeah.
but I can't get it out because I'm so fucking scared. So I just goo. Like when I saw that rat when I lived last in town by the university.
Yeah.
And that it was just the first rat, but it was like as big as the house cat. Oh my goodness,
Like,
dude.
yeah, there's a rat.
The wolf. To digress, like the wolf spider, though.
Yeah.
Like I've seen a wolf spider, not in this house, but other houses before, where it's just like, how did you get in?
Yeah.
And probably because
And you only rent now.
Well, he probably is because like he's been in longer than I have, and now he's
Well,
like
we had a
making
problem.
himself known.
You know, the house we lived in before we lived in now, you've been in
Mm-hmm.
the small house. Like, the doors were old, so like they didn't really seal at the bottom. You know, and I'd be sitting there playing, you know, this is like 10 years ago, playing Modern Warfare 2 or whatever, like 3 in the morning. We play it on, and you just see him just popping on the door like he owns the place. Like, I'm home, bitch. I'm like, no, you're not. Then you go to try to find something to kill him, and he crawls off.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, he's on the ceiling like 2 hours later. So
I found a couple of lizards, some geckos, and chameleons in the house before, but I mean,
that's the other crazy. Like, I didn't realize until I moved in the house I'm in now. Like, there are geckos that live in the southeast. I never knew there were geckos in Georgia, and there are.
I don't know if they're bonkers. You do not want any coffee. Trust me. I don't want you to have any coffee. Good God, that cat was insane. Anywho, I don't think what do they call them, endemic. I don't think all of them are endemic to Georgia. I have noticed that.
The one that's around my house is
If that's not the right word,
it's from Asia, but it's like not invasive.
Right.
But endemic means it's not from invasive means it's like it's bad for it to be here.
Yeah. Well, the stink bugs. I've seen a couple down here. Not too bad. They were really bad in Jersey.
Yeah, they're real bad up in that region.
Uh huh.
Yeah.
It was something that happened. It was like a shipment of plants from China. I think in the 90s or something.
Yep.
That came
It's
to
the,
Virginia.
It's the brown ones, is what it is.
Yeah, and it these things. If you haven't seen them, what's the name of that? Is it the dog, that biorobotics thing? It's got 6 legs that like it's like a YouTube clip that's like 10 plus years old, where it's like this robot that's not like the Boston Dynamics dog, but it's something similar to that. And they're testing it outside, like on ice, to show that like it can't fall down.
That is Boston. That's one of the first ones they did.
Yeah. So the stink bugs, that they look like this. So like they look like if you took a tank or a beetle and just sort of squished it a little bit, and it's
They're kind of shaped like a dull arrowhead.
Yeah. And I guess their exoskeleton is similar to a beetle because it'll I think it's the thorax is the part of it. It'll lift up, and underneath are the wings, and the wings will reverberate and bounce between its endoskeleton.
I'm trying to get the fuck on.
Well, and like so they're really noisy, but you can't squish them because they have a chemical word, right? So kind of what you were talking about earlier with insect intelligence. So there was this one entomologist that I forget his name, but he did some sort of study on chemical words and pheromones with insects, and he started with like a certain type of ant. It may have been the siafu ant. They're these, I think it's in southern Africa, like around Mozambique and South Africa, but
Well,
these ants
have intelligence. Like that's.
Oh yeah, like okay, so like these guys are the size of praying manti, like
Fuck that.
and they'll set up a when they move from one colony to another, they set up a parade of warrior ants that are on like shit you not like on both sides of street.
Yeah.
And then in the middle is just like the drones and the army ants. That's just like a sea, and anything that comes close to the edge, all of these warrior ants will grab and toss in to that sea.
You're gonna be lunch now.
Yeah, and like this entomologist was perplexed by it, which I mean rightfully so. But he's there with the camera. He's showing as this caravan is going by, and these guys are lined up. He's like, now check this out. and he blows on the ants, and like a wave, all of them instinctively reach out.
Ugh.
Like, so like there's like some hive mind. So like he started breaking down that they had chemical words, right?
Yeah.
And that they had a chemical word for attack, for mate, for feed, for food, for help, for all this, right? So this particular stink bug that releases this actual pheromone, it has a similar word for this pheromone for all of these distress signals that causes more stink bugs to come to it.
Yep.
So, like,
the good thing for that is that if that's a normal response to like being crushed, like you can exploit that and you can set up traps and stuff like that. That's what they do for boll weevils and cotton. It's like it's like I want a fuck pheromone that's constantly pouring out of this thing, so it draws on the males. The males going to drown. Or
really?
Death. Yeah, imagine going on a tender call, like you walk into this bitch's house and you fall into like a pool and drown.
Dude, I am There's only been a couple of times like meeting like women from like online dating where I've been like, this is not comfortable.
Yeah.
Not many, but like there have been, and when you've seen a variety of red flags like I have, you tend to notice it really quick. But there was this one time where I was like, I couldn't sleep, right? I'm at her house, and I couldn't leave in my mind because I thought that it would raise suspicion. But I was like, a part of my brain was like, there's something off with this woman. And I started, I guess fantasizing or imagining her being some sort of like reptilian alien. And there's like somebody else in the house with her that they're just waiting for me to panic.
See, like this is you're experiencing the post-nut clarity. Like, going in there like, there's something not right here, but the big head's not thinking clearly.
I didn't sleep with her like at all. I went no. Like I said, like I was at a point where I didn't feel trapped, but like something was just off, and she kept like blinking a lot and like twitching.
That sounds like meth.
She wasn't on meth. I have known meth heads, sir. I've dated meth heads before. This was not meth. Like I said, like I've seen a variety of stuff, and this was like the one time where I was like, I don't know what's going on, but like, if this bitch is an alien,
why would you even think? Like, all the jumps to me, like she might fucking like slit my throat when I doze off.
I don't know. That's at that particular instant. I think it's because some way she was acting like I didn't feel like threatened or anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I definitely wasn't like, this bitch is crazy. Like this was someone who had like, she had like some power and money. Like however like her house was, where it was like whoa.
Like, it could be her
sister got some fucking.
It could be
bucks.
daddy's money too.
I mean, it could be. It could be, but regardless, she was in like that house. And I was like, this is a really.
Not saying that women can't have that power. I mean,
right.
Let me back up.
And it wasn't like I'm being somewhat hyperbolic with the alien stuff, That's just. But I mean, like there was a part of me that was like, what if there's somebody else in this fucking house, man? What if there's somebody else in this house?
It was just like a setup, and like it's her kink to invite me over and have like another man like rape me or something.
Yeah, well, I mean, my friend who's a PI, anytime I go to someone's house I've never been to before, I send him the address. I'm like, if anything happens to me, this is where you start looking.
Okay, that's smart.
Yeah.
How do people? I mean, you're a bachelor, and this is like something me and my wife talk about all the time. Like, I've been with her since I was 19 years old, and she was 17.
Mm.
I was my first girlfriend. I was her first real boyfriend, and then we got married. Some people would say that's retarded. I would disagree, but I can understand the logic. But like, me and her talk all the time about how do people date now? Like, I couldn't imagine just talking like going on an app and swiping right or left or whatever the fuck you do. Like
that's the most 2020. Like style of dating. Like it fucking sucks.
Does
It
anybody
sucks.
actually like? I mean, we met through a friend of a friend. Like
Mm-hmm.
like that's how people did it for eons. Or you went to the bar and met somebody, or like you worked with them, or like you met them at a party. Like does that shit still happen, or is it like? I mean, because even like my cousin got married yesterday. Met his wife on Tinder. Like
Yeah.
like. And in some ways, there's probably some positives of that. It's easier to make connections with people and find relationships, but there's also got to be a commoditization of it. Like it's no, yes, no.
Yeah,
You know
I
what
mean, it definitely kind of cheapens human interaction.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
You know, it's dating in 2020 just sucks in general.
Yeah.
I'm not dating in your 30s is also like one of those things where it's like, fuck man, like I don't have time for bullshit. And I'm not gonna pretend to be somebody that I'm not, you know what I mean? I'm comfortable with who I am at this point.
Well, you've settled into who you are. You're not trying to.
I'm trying to improve upon what I've got,
Yeah.
not be somebody else or be somebody new. You know what I mean? Like I want to have integrity to who I am, and
True to yourself.
yeah, and like I also like, the women I'm attracted to, they're individuals. I like individualism. That's like one of the cruxes of this podcast is to break the norms of like Southern folk being like some homogenous group. You know what I mean?
That's like people just like putting people in order in groups so they can blast them the way they want to, and like it's easier, it's all about the collective and the individual. Like you can,
Yeah. So like even like dating apps now, like they're political. Where
there's like so many of them. Like 10 years ago it was just Tinder, but now you have like Tinder, Bumble, some other objective fucking name that some dipshit in Silicon Valley thinks of for dating. Like it's or Noun or whatever. It's like. There's so many of these fucking dating apps, and before that, there was Match.com and OkCupid and shit like that.
And like they still exist. I do manage to like there are people that I've met like through dating apps that like while obviously we didn't end up getting married and settling down or anything, like they're still like really dear to me.
Yeah.
Like I've made some like truly awesome friends through that through online dating apps and whatnot. Notwithstanding, almost every relationship that I have had that was enjoyable and prosperous came from meeting people just through circumstance.
Yeah, the organic way.
Yeah. There's it kind of like also like dating apps and whatnot, they kind of cheapen yourself too, because it's like, sell yourself.
Yeah.
It's like, well, me as a dude, it's like the tables are reversed, right? Because it's you've now got a sea of women that are all competing for a small tier of dudes for the most part, just to make a generalization. So with that, and like I said, it cheapens human interaction, but with me anyways, like I'm attracted to individuals, and like my niche that I found as far as having a symbiotic attraction, or a mutual attraction, are women that they also like they're not concerned with what everybody else is competing for or drooling over. They're looking for somebody that can offer something that no one else can.
Yeah.
And like that's like even with the women that I've had that ended up becoming like committed relationships and girlfriends with, really not one of them had like a similar personality or anything. Like they've all like been pretty diverse.
I mean, I've got friends who they have a type of woman or girl they with, and you've never really dated the same person.
No. But I'll find that through dating apps with some people, that because they have this archetype in their mind and they know that like somebody's going to fill that archetype, right? Like that's not a good way to look at it.
But some people, they'll have like, I'm going to put this, like they'll have like two different archetypes that they want, and neither of those match. Like they want the woman who is the absolute whore in the bedroom, all that type of shit, but they also want to have like a 9-to-5 job and in the picket fence and all that type of shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, people like that, I feel they just want to control their partner.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And I've talked about this with not just lovers, but even friends of mine. If you tell me to do or not to do something, there's a high likelihood I'm going to do the opposite. Because I don't like being told what to do. You know what I mean? So there's some couples that, and it's not like a BDSM thing, but they'll tell the other person what they're gonna wear, who they're gonna talk to, what they're doing.
Control. I mean, there's I don't know. I mean, everybody knows a couple that the woman is very domineering over the man, or vice versa, or whatever.
Yeah. Have you ever seen? It's an old movie, Creep Show. It's like a compilation of short stories. They're like tongue-in-cheek 80s horror. Like one of them, they're all written by Stephen King, if I'm not mistaken. And one of them, the second one, is Stephen King. He finds a meteorite, crashes outside of his house, and he touches it, and he gets blisters, and he sucks on his blisters.
Yeah.
And over time, over the night, he starts growing moss out of his fingertips, and then he sees that he's got moss growing out of his tongue, and he starts everything he's touched
turns to moss.
Yeah. So really, like I said, 80s sort of campy short stories.
I think I remember watching something like that.
There's one with
so long ago.
There's one with Leslie Nielsen and Ted Danson. Danson, yeah. I was getting Tony
alive?
Danza mixed up. Ted Danson's still alive, yeah.
Tony Danza's dead though, right?
Maybe. I think Tony Danza's still alive.
I think he died of cancer.
Did he? I don't know. We're all dying anyway.
Yeah.
But anywho, Leslie Nielsen finds out that Ted Danson's been screwing his wife and shows up to his apartment, then takes him out to the beach and makes him dig his own hole in the sand.
Yeah.
Covers himself up to his neck and then has the tide come in. But then later on that night, the corpse of he and his wife, Ted Danson and his wife, come back to Leslie Nielsen. They take him out to the...
I remember watching this. This had to have been back in the early high school days, watching it at Mellows.
Yeah, probably. Probably him saying it's the best movie you've ever seen.
Man, he would.
He was trying. I forget what it was. We were talking about what's the best movie of all time, and he said something like Friday the 13th Part 5.
There's an appreciation of bad movies. It was nothing for us get $20 and go to not Video Odyssey, which is the name brand store in town, to go to Showtime Video.
Ooh.
And rent Showtime Video 2, excuse me. This is the sequel video store. They had a fucking franchise. And they would have whatever, they'd have 3 new releases, and everything else was B movie horse shit. Which whenever people didn't realize then is all that B movie horse shit is full of tits.
Yeah.
So if you're 13, 14 years old, I mean, you're basically written softcore porn.
It had more to offer than National Geographic magazine.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I mean, we would just go rent $20 worth of movies and watch them all weekend, and they would be the most god awful fucking movies.
There was one time I remember. I think I know y'all were down at the house. I think Blake might have been there too. But Mello went with my mom to the movie store to help rent some movies, and he came back with 976 Evil.
Oh shit! I remember that. Yes.
It's Rated Fish. I got it. Oh my lord! But anyway, the Creep Show thing. There's once. Mini movie scene, story. Yeah. That's a better term. In it, where it's this guy's wife, and she's just a really loud, nasty person and condescending, and he takes her out to these events and these parties, and she gets drunk and it's just like, oh, Larry couldn't do anything right.
Very emasculating.
Oh yeah, extremely emasculating. And then, like uses it to control, like, oh, Larry, what would you do without me? I'm the only one who cares about you. So he works as a professor at a university.
Yeah.
And somebody there finds like a crate or something that was under the stairs at the university, and there's something in the box that like eats people. So he finds a way to...
You can tell this is fucking Stephen King, just pure all the way through.
Oh yeah. The movies, it even has, because it's based off of I guess like old comic books, the Creepshow comic books. So like it'll have like lighting that'll be like
awful.
Like, oh yeah, like hot pink background, and their face turns blue as they like shock.
Oh!
But this guy, he finds a way to lure his wife to the staircase at the college, and
I remember. I vaguely remember these. The Ted Danson way he buries his head to the water. I remember that one.
Yeah, he sets up a TV so he can watch his wife.
It's so crazy how like that was in there, and it wasn't like it didn't pop up to somebody. Here's the key and open that door. And like, oh, here's this memory that you remember now. And then like, there's more memories from that. Like,
yeah. It is pretty wild. Scent is the strongest one. I mean, I know we're like told that, but like even like from personal experience, I may have talked with you about this before. I don't know. I get so confused with who I talk about the older I get. But I was sometime at work last year, because I was still in the office, and somebody came in, and whatever perfume she had on was the same perfume that my pre-K teacher had.
She was old as fuck, man.
No. Like she's probably like my age, maybe a couple years older. But like whatever she was wearing had in it a scent that was this woman Frida that I went and had where daycare.
Yeah.
With other kids when I was like 3 and 4 years old, and like all of a sudden all these like visions in my mind of like memories started like popping up, and like of like how the yard looked, and like the path we would take to get to the house, and like outfits that this woman Frida would wear, and
I think scent is like one that like can closely take you back to like memories. Like for me, like sweaty, dirty clothes that have set. I'm not going to put in a washer. Reminds me of the locker room playing football.
Oh my god, that scent when it's like that true funk.
Yeah, like that bunch of boys not washing clothes. Funk that like it's got built up of sweat and stuff. That like cut damp grass reminds me of like practice fields.
Mm-hmm. When I smell something, I can smell something burning and soot now.
Yeah.
Like pretty starkly from just being like. There's for a while there where like even like most of like the house that I was in, like it took moving like almost like 5 or 6 times before stuff like boxes and items didn't have like soot.
There's like atoms of soot that's constantly being. I mean, it takes a while for it to go away.
And it's a really distinct smell. I hear that as well about like corpses that are burnt. It's one thing my dad told me about Iraq.
Yeah,
was that like that smell is like it's a very particular smell.
Soil, like damp soil, and especially this time of year, if you live in the South, like when they turn peanuts, it always reminds me of working with my dad. And like,
but like when that scent hits you though,
you're there.
Like, like I said, like it's like I know you've never taken psychedelics or anything like that before, but it's from someone who has before. It's something akin to that, where these little windows will pop in your mind, where you're like holy cow, like I remember this and this and this and this.
Like when you think about that, like that means that stuff's like we may or may not have that unlimited storage. I don't know. But like that, how much you think that it will eventually get to the point where you'll be able to, like, if it's in there, like you'll be able to download it and put it digitally. You know what I mean?
Maybe that kind of stuff also like frightens me.
It really freaks me out because, like, if you want to talk about like long-term prospects for humanity, that's kind of really the only way humanity survives. Like being uploaded into a digital self, that's the only way we will ever be able to do like intergalactic travel, if that ever is a possibility, if the simulation allows it. Like, biologically speaking, like we can't live to get to the next galaxy. Like it's so far away.
I think it's
gonna
designed for that. I think that we can only perceive things visually in the third dimension.
Yeah.
Right. Hey, bud. Or less. So I mean, we can see two-dimensional things on paper.
Yeah.
But anything outside, higher than the third dimension, is conceptual, right?
Yep.
So I think it's kind of like levels locked in a game, right? Almost that like we're tethered to this planet in a way, and I think there's more truth within the ideas of the simulation theory and intelligent design than there is with just this is all just cosmic happenstance.
Yeah, that's kind of something that's very relaxing to me is like look at the stars. Like it's so dumb and rudimentary sound, but like it's something I like.
Well, no, in the country you can actually see the stars.
Like, in the middle of town in Lakeland, like on a moonless night, you can see everything, like no problem.
Yeah.
Even in the middle of town, it's even better outside of town. But like when you really like start looking at like stars and like you realize that like every one of those is its own galaxy with its own sun and all that other horse shit, whatever NASA's been telling us. You know what I mean? But like it comes back like you get back to like, you know, there was nothing and then there was an explosion and now there's Donald Trump. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's how do you like? How could someone go? It's all fucking chaos. This thing happened and then a lightning bolt struck a crystal.
I think
and
it's
now. Megalomaniac gets to a point of fucking his third Supreme Court justice. Like, you know,
I think it gets to that point because it's a good philosophy for nihilists. It's a good philosophy for people that believe that there is no purpose, that the only thing eternal is existential dread, right? So if we come from nothing, if all this is just by chance, and when we look out the stars around any star we see is another possibility for another planet just like this, it gives a really warm, cold embrace to these people. I know that's a paradox, so just go with it, but it caters them to this notion that like, oh well, science proves everything, that we're just one of many, that this is nothing special. It's like, well, you say prove because you've been told that it's the truth, but in actuality, I was talking about this with Joey earlier in our email correspondence, that what's the best way I can put it? Sorry, I'm trying to gather my thoughts.
Well, gather that thought. I gotta pee real quick.
Oh, you got to pee? Okay, we can take a break. Cool. But anyway, so they'll say like, well, it's proved. It's like, well, it hasn't been proven. These are like theories, like Big Bang cosmology, heliocentrism. These are theories. We've been taught and indoctrinated with these ideas as being like, well, they're pretty solid theories. It's like, well, whenever everybody just agrees with you and that's your consensus, that doesn't mean you're being correct with it. So, like, from what I see from the baby boomer generation onward, we've been taught these ideas that, like, well, this is what we believe now is the best option, and they ignore things like geocentrism, or the Earth being the center of the observable solar system, which wouldn't be a solar system, it'd be an Earth system, I guess in that instance. But and also like the idea of like the Matrix or like a simulation. Both of them rely on a programmer or a creator of some sort, and with that you have to have purpose. Like you can't write a computer program without a purpose. Like everything has to be defined, and these to me hold a lot more water than the idea of just like, well, yeah, this is just there's probably more intelligent life forms out there. They're just so far away. We haven't found the rocket technology to get there. It's like, well, I mean, wouldn't it be easier, make more sense to fold space-time than to try to, I don't know, see if combustion works in a vacuum and thrust works in a vacuum? From what I see, those don't seem like logical ways to traverse the stars, if, like you said, if the simulation will even allow it to do so.
Yeah.
But it seems like the idea of like a Stargate or like folding space-time would make a lot more sense. And I think that there's some validity to these arguments that, like you and I have talked about numerous times before, a lot of folk just don't pay any attention to, because it involves questioning a comfort zone that they have with what the world is, how it operates.
Yeah, that's the feeling that I get. Like, you get wrapped up in your own reality, and then like you look at the stars. Oh shit! I'm just on a giant rock that's floating in the middle of nothing.
Yeah,
literally. Like you realize how finite and like how small you are. Like these things you're seeing, these beams of light coming into your eyeballs, your brain's picking up. Like there's a high chance a star you're looking at is not even there anymore. That's how far that light has traveled. And like you start taking it in perspective, that it takes the light from that source to reach your eyeball that damn long. How the fuck in our current technology, how do you even expect to get like to Andromeda, which is supposed to be the closest galaxy to us? Like,
yeah,
like.
We'll have rockets that'll propel us there, and we'll just get there over time. It'll take decades or centuries to do so.
You're like a fucking 5-year-old kid. Your dad's like, well, I'm going to go to the next galaxy, and then like you're 55 years old, and then you get your dad's in his 30s. Oh, your dad died on the way there. He died for fucking nothing. They shot him out the fucking rocket port. I mean, it's like what.
I think Tim Pool had somewhere he was talking about after say 30 or 50 years has passed, back on Earth they would have invented better travel so that they'll end up passing them. Be like, oh, and then he even said in order to make them think they were the first people there, they would have to set up some sort of staged reality to be like, oh, you guys are the first ones here. We got here just after you guys did, and then wouldn't let them see the grand civilization they built.
Fucking participation trophy, first landing.
Yeah, it's like, you did it, Billy.
Good job. Yeah.
Oh, we're all gold medalists today, sir.
I don't think humanity gets off Earth. We might get to Mars. I don't think we get off. I don't think we get out of our solar system. In the next 1,000 years.
I think they'll say we do. Well, I mean, technically they already have, with the Apollo mission. But now there's scientists that are starting to push back on that and even publish it. There's something, may have been Scientific American, maybe Scientific Journal, I forget, but there was a article about these heretics that were arguing that it's a high chance the moon is actually within our atmosphere and a lot smaller and closer than what we think it is. Now that to me is the first sound thing I've heard come up about cosmology in a really long time, because everything else is either far out there conspiracies, which, I mean, good luck trying to sit down with somebody and explain to them, hey guys, would you like to talk about this really fascinating flat earth video I saw the other day? They're going to look at you like you're a fucking madman. Or the other end of it, which is just nope, everything that NASA has ever done is awesome. We should support them fully.
Well, they've done some awesome things, but then you also have to recognize their origin, Warner von Braun. A Nazi war criminal, was the first head of NASA. And,
And he headed the Apollo program, which is when people think of NASA, that's what they always go to is the Apollo program.
And like, what have they done since like the Apollo program that is?
They destroyed the telemetry data. They lost the They've done lots of stuff, Will. They lost the technology to get back to the moon. They discovered the Van Allen radiation belt, which is why they say now they can't go back to the moon because the Van Allen radiation belt is there. But they didn't know it existed back in the 1969 and 1970 missions, so that's why they were able to go there. So like all this stuff like is just not fitting with the narrative. I think I may have mentioned this on another podcast, but I think that SpaceX is preparing the masses for the future to give an illusion of space travel. I think it's just going to be more space propaganda because eventually people are not going to trust NASA anymore. Like they're just going to be like that's a fucking joke, man. If you go back and you look at some of the things that they were showing to the public in the 70s to be like, and here we see the astronaut, like this is before you have CGI, and this is supposed to be documented evidence of what they did.
You see the boom mic guy in the background holding the mic up.
Yeah, there's legit one. They're in the command module. And they're looking out the window at this tiny little speck of Earth, and then somebody accidentally drops part of the card that they're holding up, and then you can see the rest of the window, and then there's the rest of the Earth. So they made a peephole, like to make it look like the Earth was this little planet, and in actuality they just put a piece of like thick card paper in front of a window and just cut a circle in the middle of it to make it look like that was the Earth. So I mean, these are things that like that organization has legitimately like put out there. But I mean, to digress from that, when you try to sit down and you actually talk with people about like some of this stuff, again, they're just like, I don't think any of that's even true. It's like you just heard it, Frank. Like I'm not saying it is true. You shouldn't believe me. You should look into it and come up with your own conclusions.
You have to look at like that era of what NASA was there to do. Like
it's space propaganda.
Well, I think NASA was largely us trying to the whole space race thing. I'm of the opinion that we had been to the moon, and I don't. It's like I don't want to take. I have other things to worry about whether it's real or not. So. But completely. Like this is just my nerdy fascination with it. It's like you know, it's like the moon landing was completely faked, and we had. I'm like, is he gonna pay my goddamn rent? I don't give a shit.
Yeah, that's like Andrew Schultz was talking about with. I think we may talk about this last time about like Joe Rogan, Flat Earth. He's like, so what? He's like, if the Earth is flat, so what? He's like, you're still gonna have to keep living.
Yeah. You're
still gonna have the same problems. You have to go to work. Like all this stuff.
I think a large function of NASA back then was an effort to like inspire patriotism and nationalism. And,
that's totally.
And
I think it's
other was to try to combat. It was kind of the start of the Cold War with Russia or the Soviet Union at that time, because that was basically a race of economies, not like.
Well, it's also a way to. I do believe there are things that I guess we would call space, but it's still in our atmosphere, but like high altitude.
Yeah.
Right. Kind of like with the DEWs, like direct energy weapons and whatnot.
Yeah.
Like they wouldn't have to really be like in space. You know what I mean? But if you're like,
satellite orbit. Like,
yeah. So if you're like 100,000 miles up. I mean, that's pretty much space.
Yeah.
You know, it's still, I guess, within our atmosphere. I'm not sure where the.
I think when you talk about the direct energy weapons, like I think at this point you would have to think, why? We were supposed to sign a treaty in the '80s not to weaponize space, but when is there ever been a treaty that any nation signed they actually fucking kept with? You know what I mean?
Well, so okay, this ties in with what I was just saying with and also what you were saying with like reasons why it was beneficial, because NASA then it's not a military operation,
it's for science,
right? So you can have money being pledged to that and be like, okay, yeah, sure, no military operations, you got it, don't worry, the Pentagon's not going to be involved with this one. Yet you've got people at the board of NASA that, again, whatever they dictate, they're gonna run it all the way down.
I see.
You know?
We talking about going back to the dues and stuff. Like that would have to be something that was done in the last 10 to 15 years, because the last like major. Well, you know, let me back that up. Like if we had them, we haven't had to use them yet. I have not seen the reason to use them yet because there's no like grand threat. Like most of the places America invades don't have an army or navy or even an organized like force. So you really hold that down with a couple of jets and drones.
Yeah.
And traditional foot soldiers. I think what scares me is if we.
Well, it's kind of like the nuke scare back in the day, right? So if other nations get this technology, and we know what this technology does, right?
What's like that?
So it creates it legitimizes public concern.
What's like they were talking. I think it was Reagan was talking about. And don't quote me. I think it was Reagan. They had that project Odin, where they were going to go launch weaponized satellites that had like rings of tungsten rods the size of light poles, and it would be pure kinetic force. That it would fall so fast from space that the tip of the spear, so to speak, would cause plasma, and it would strike with enough force of a small nuclear bomb, and there'd be no fallout.
Right.
So you're talking about something that's going to hit the force like the Beirut explosion, and there'd be no chemical fallout or nothing, and you wouldn't be able to tell what it was because it disintegrates into the ground.
Yeah.
But that's when they said, no, we're not going to weaponize space. They signed treaties saying they weren't going to do that. But then why wouldn't you? Like, because like China and Russia and the other developers, they don't have to follow what America does.
Well, it's to set up rules so other people won't. I mean, that's what happens with authoritarianism anyway, right? Mm-hmm. So the authorities, your bourgeoisie, like that upper echelon, if you create not for thee, not me, one of those types of rules.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, like you said, like other nations they're gonna break it. Like you think like Israel and the Saudis and China and Russia and UK aren't doing shady shit with their governments.
If those report on CNN tomorrow that Trump during his tenure as president or whatever doubled the nuclear arsenal, well, I'm like, yeah, well, what do you expect? I mean, like, don't be shocked. It's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Another thing is like. This is gonna sound fucked up. If we go into another war with a legit country, and I don't see some like sci-fi style fucking shit, I'm gonna be really disappointed.
You know I think we're already seeing it, man. Supposedly, there's one theory that the 9/11. I know this is gonna sound preposterous.
Not from you.
This is my theory, but this theory I saw is that 9/11 is actually an instance of direct energy weapons. That there's
video of the planes flying into the buildings.
Precisely, right? So part of this ties in with experiments that were being run having to do with Project Bluebeam, which is projections in the sky, and also direct energy weapons to see if they could stage something to make it seem as if a plane went into a building when it's actually a projection from something that they had put into the air, and then using bombs to detonate, and then direct energy weapons to collapse the buildings. Now, again, like I said, that's a pretty out there.
That's like if you could sell me the idea of 9/11 being an inside job. I'm like, okay, I don't necessarily agree with what that person said, this straw man, but I can see you tying these things together and saying that's I can't. I mean, we didn't have the technology in 1901 to project a flying plane into a building.
Well, so that from what I've heard from friends in the military is that when you see it, that means the military and the government has had it for about 20 or 30 years.
Oh yeah,
already.
that's a rule of thumb.
Yeah.
I was talking to one of our military buddies. I was like, I always had this, and I think we talked about this last time I was on the podcast. Was that like, I often wonder. There's scenarios. Either our military is so far advanced that we should have to worry in a war type scenario, or we're about even killed and you should be worried, or we're so propagandized to American exceptionalism we're asleep to the fact of what like other nations have built up.
Yeah.
And like, but then I asked my friend this, and he said I'd feel comfortable. He said 2 generations, if not 3 generations ahead. And I was like, so you saying a generation being like 20 years? He's like, yeah. So it really makes you wonder, like, what the next 20 years look like, because we're going to go to war with China. Like, it's going to happen. There's some type of theory that I forgot, I don't know the name of it, like basically when there's a superpower, there's a rising superpower, it's inevitable that there will be a war.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I wonder what that war looks like, because the last war America had was like us invading Iraq, and it was like kicking children out of wheelchairs. Like, it was just, there's no challenge to it. Like, we rolled in there and fucked that whole nation up forever.
I don't think China's ever had an external war before.
No, and like
I think all of their wars, and any historians out there, do correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that any of their wars have been, or military conflicts have been,
civil of nature.
Civil of nature, and if nothing else, then territorial only in the borders, like adjacent borders, right?
I mean, the last invading force they probably had was the Mongols, really.
There's something I saw with the new chronology that guy Flamenco tied in. I think we talked about, not on the podcast, but this guy used something that this Russian scientist Morozov found, which was what they were doing. They were questioning the original calendar that Scaliger in the Vatican came up with, using lunar eclipse data, because it's if you use the it's called the Saros SAROS cycle, you don't use the cycle of the ecliptical path, right? So you don't use that. It's this other cycle called the Saros cycle, and it's like every 18 years, 11 months, and 8 hours, and then X amount afterwards. But it's like precise every time. So he started finding all of these inconsistencies with what the Romans said was going on in history around that time, and that it looks like sometime in the post-Renaissance era that's when there was like a takeover, as far as like within, I guess, the banking world. Whoever controls the purse strings controls the world. And then they came up with the idea of like, well, let's assimilate, because it's the Catholic Church. Catholic means universal, so it's globalism religion, right? To tie in all the old calendars and all the old history and all that, and we'll almost corporatize it, like make it official. And this was a campaign they ran. So anyway, a part of this was this nation, Tartaria, right? That was like Siberia all the way down to like parts of India, Mongolia, and China.
The Tartars, right?
Yeah, the Tartars, and went over across the Bering Strait into Alaska and down the states and America. And Tartaria was like a nation or an empire of many races and many creeds.
Well, you got to think like
they argue that the point being with all that long tangent, Flamenco, the scientist, argues that the Great Wall of China was the border with Tartaria back in the day, and that it actually had nothing to do with Mongolia. That actually, this sounds wild, but they changed. There's things in this idea of like this new chronology that they changed words around that from what they originally were, that the Caucasians were actually dark-skinned, the Mongols were actually light-skinned, and like this whole idea of
they're white people go culture appropriating again.
well, if you think about some of the though I guess they wouldn't be a fan of me, but this some of these groups that are black supremacists that are also conspiracy theorists, right? So some of their theories also like tie
You know, the whole
in.
we was kings type people.
Yes, the notion of the like the 12 tribes of Israel. So like that they were
black Israelite stuff.
yeah. So like, but what this Flamenco breaks down is that like there was two races of of white skinned people. That you had the Arctic or like Viking Nords, and then you had the Europeans that were short. And then like the dark skinned people that are black had three different races. That there were Caucasians, Africans, and Polynesians.
Well, like look
And then
at
but it's really fascinating to see like this one guy. He spent like 40 years like amassing all this. His map of like a timeline map is like something like 50 feet long on canvas. Like it's like a Torah that you have to like unroll and unravel. But that it ties in also with like stuff that Graham Hancock talks about with like the dogma of science or scientism and archaeology being false. That like the world like seems to be much older than like what we're talking about in civilization as well. So Flamenco's whole thing talks about that we're told this period of the Dark Ages and all this, and I think I could be wrong, but the mathematics. Imagine if as far as the data, the way it looks on a graph, one timeline and another timeline, right? So the timeline of Flamenco's new chronology, and then the timeline of the official chronology that we're taught in history class. And it looks like an accordion, because it'll go from like this series of like kingdoms and all this. He shows that like all these dynasties are more or less copy and pasted. They follow a formula, and then they change the amount of years for each dynasty to fill in a gap. And like really like from a guy who works in data, really fascinating to see like the comparison between the two. And
well, it's like people back then writing that history down. Like you don't have a fucking clock or what you didn't like. You wake up and if fucking your servant messed up the day, you could be off a week of what's going on. Like, like I mean, how many servants have you killed because you thought it was a Friday and it was really a Sunday? Like, I mean,
kill him. Bring me another one. Copernicus. I told you no grapes on Tuesdays. It confuses me.
well, and the other thing is, it comes back. There's that saying that the victor write history.
Yeah.
So like you're only you always get what history is from the victor's perspective. Mm-hmm. So you know, again, it comes back to like I only have so much mental bandwidth. If like you came back and told me like our history as we've known it is completely wrong, this is and this is what it is, we're like okay, all right, whatever,
dude. It's I was talking with Joey about it. I was like, it's a lot. Like this concept of like the new chronology and whatnot. It's a lot, and this is from somebody who's taken a fair amount of pills, blue, red, black, and white pills.
Yeah, the whole fucking medicine cabinet.
Like the irony of the term "waking up" is that that's when your nightmare begins, because you start seeing like the world for what you've been told and what it could potentially be, and some things that actually are, and you were told were not, and you kind of it's a slow process, but yeah, like to your point, like again, like trying to just converse about like something like that, like where it's like the entire timeline was like skewed. It's like I'm not an educated dude, you know what I mean? So like it's for me to even wrap my mind around it was like, okay, like that means I would have to like everything with the years. That these things that like Randall Carlson and Graham Hancock and Michael Schock and Robert Schock, I think is his name, and fuck, who's did you ever see a Joe Rogan with the old Egyptologist?
No, I never watched that one.
Oh, God, it's a really good one.
He was the one that said that like the Sphinx was older than they realized because the erosion marks were from water.
Yeah,
like
that's fucking wild, dude.
I mean, like,
if you look at Fomenko argues that Egypt and that part of Africa is Rome. That's like where the burial grounds was Rome and the Sphinx and all that.
Well, you have to like okay.
That it is like an ancient city.
Well, it's like the Sphinx is so many thousand years older than the actual pyramids themselves, or some shit like that.
Well, I mean, one they have everything with like Egyptology so locked down, and like I think of almost probably more than chronology. Like Egyptology is one of those things where like you're not even allowed to like test anything there. So I've seen something where one guy talked about the idea of like, well, how did they move all these heavy stones? And one guy was like, well, why wouldn't they just make them into concrete and pour them and then just lift them there? That made a lot of sense if they like could like from miles away like grind them up into gravel or what. I don't work in concrete, so I'm not like totally sure how it's made.
The logistics of what the limestone they got, they were told that the where that came from was on a mountain so many hundreds of miles away. I don't know. I'm just using general.
Right. We're not doctors.
Yeah, I'm hardly a doctor. But like the whole, I think from what I remember, whenever I did like watch some fucking YouTube videos and this shit, is like the idea is what they did was they cut timbers and they cut these stones wherever they cut them and they rolled them all the way to the fucking thing. It's like they live in a fucking desert. Where do they get timbers from? Like where are the trees at for them to do that with?
They would have been from before their timeline. You know what I mean? Like it produces like a contradiction there.
Yeah.
And then like of course any of the fucking ancient aliens people are just like, it had to have been aliens. There is no other explanation. This stone is so large. It would take 500 men to lift it up and toss it like a baby.
And then there wasn't that guy like in his backyard, like he was lifting like 2-ton limestone stones by himself.
Yeah, he remade Stonehenge.
Yeah.
Like one dude remade Stonehenge just by using like essentially a seesaw, more or less, to like wedge something in, and then it lifts a little bit, then wedge something else in, and then just over and over again. Like he had something set up where, what is it, like that Coral Castle? I think that's down in Florida, where it's got a door that's a stone, and it just like freely moves. It's this guy built this castle out of coral down in Florida, and
that's such a Florida man thing to do.
But everybody's like, well, how did he do it? And then again, it's like ancient aliens folks are just like, it had to have been aliens. There's no other explanation for it. Watch Ancient Aliens Debunked. It's a fantastic YouTube video for free. The guy has a lot of links and resources to show how these charlatans come in, and because they'll turn it into a fucking religion, like just as like scientism is now, where again these Egyptologists are just like,
it's a dogma, like it's
like it's a cult where nobody can even like test anything. Like, can you imagine if like it was illegal to own a telescope here? Like, I mean it's essentially like that.
You can go to a fucking Walmart and buy one now. I mean,
yeah.
You have to think of like, what do they think modern civilization is? What, like 7,000 years old or some shit like that? As history has told us.
I get. Well, they say that the pyramid is 2,500 or 3,000 BC.
The modern humans no older than 7,000 years or some shit like that, as we know.
Yeah.
Like, you gotta think like, the fucking Library of Alexandria was burned. Like, what the fuck was in that had the history and tales of like 3,000-4,000 years before that burned?
Yeah.
Like, you're basically going into like graves and digging up this stuff and formulating opinions, and that's how you're writing history of stuff that's been in the ground for eons.
Yeah. Well, and then you get, it's this thing that it's a left brain principle, right? Of all things.
The left, I ain't got no use for it.
But where all this empirical data, right? There's just like, well, I mean, all the data, like, it lines up and agrees with this, it agrees with this. If your consensus is made up of nothing but people that agree with you in this, like, echo chamber, and then, like, you kick all the dissenters out, or you line them against the wall, or, you know, however you get rid of them, I mean, then, like, it becomes one of these things where it's like, you know, like well, 98% of the world's top scientists agree with us. It's like,
what about the 300 that didn't agree with us?
Yeah. It's like, okay, so what are the guys who disagree with? What are the reasons why? Because a lot of these things aren't like so cut and dry.
We have turned a lot of these things that science should handle in a scientific way into political points. Like,
well, and also to just scientific authorities where we're not allowed to even have like dissenting views or discussions about it. Like some of the doctors and physicians that were being censored on like YouTube and other platforms for talking out during the COVID lockdown.
If you want to talk about and bring up, our Lord and Savior Alex Jones, he talked about Rogan moving to decided to go to Spotify and move the text a lot of stuff. He said that like one of the reasons why what kind of like cemented his move away from YouTube was like, he would talk to like anybody big enough on YouTube has a handler, and he said this is coming from fucking Alex Jones, so take it with a grain of salt. But he said that Rogan was talking about higher up and said, no, you can't bring these people on have a different opinion of what's going on with coronavirus. And he said that was kind of like the straw that broke the camel's back for him, why he moved to a place where he can say he can talk about what he wants to.
Yeah.
So, I forgot where I was going with that.
Well, I mean, it's just with all this stuff. I mean, like I said, it's a left brain like thing. So whenever you're like, if you're totally right brain with something, then it's just like, well, I think if we just get together and pray, and we all just align our chakras just right, and we start living better, that the world will be a better place. It's like, well, that's really
the world has never got to be a better place without a lot of suffering. A lot of people dying.
This is the top level of hell. You know what I mean? Like, this is where we're at. We have a rooftop apartment in hell, right? So the view is fantastic, and invariably bad things are going to happen. Like, this earth is chaos and paradise contemporaneously.
Talking about being on the top floor of an apartment building in hell, like, and coming back to the COVID stuff, like,
it's amazing we started with grass.
Yeah, we did. This might be like I divert where we go into something else. Like,
whatever.
Trying to get this lined up right. 200,000 people have died. Not by now. No one watches the numbers anymore. It's like you accept it. Like, people are going to die. What I don't understand is, like, you have people who, and this kind of comes up like down to the lockdown stuff. Like, I don't think people have a realistic idea of what a pandemic is and how you're supposed to handle it and what you're supposed to do. Like, no one's being in the adult room and saying, "Hey, listen, people are going to die from this.
Yeah.
Most of you will be fine." But when you start like mathing everything out, like, well, 1% of the population dies. Well, that's 4 million people. You know what I mean? Right? That's 10% of the population. No,
that would be one. That would be one. That'd be like around one. Because I'd say there's supposedly like 300 million, I guess, citizens here. So I mean,
and people acting like Trump is like it's his fault. 200,000 people died. It's like it's not being very genuine. It's also not paying attention to science and mathematics and data. And also the other part of it, there's too much data. that anybody can go at any point in time and find what they want that confirms their biases about things.
I don't understand what was somebody supposed to do. Like, and this is even me from a conspiracy theorist, right?
That's how. Well, I was like,
So,
yeah.
like, what is somebody supposed to do?
You've got a virus that you can't control. There's no off switch. It's here.
Yeah, I'm gonna die one day, dude. Like that, and like everybody I love is gonna die one day too.
Yeah.
It is a hard reality. I hope it's not this year. I've lost people this year already. Notwithstanding, it's gonna happen. But you know what scares me even more than that is the idea of the fucking cops coming to your house and arresting you because you're not doing something that is COVID friendly or that is the safe thing to do. Like, there's a problem with lawlessness right now where, like, you've got people that should be facing justice that aren't. You've got people that are just being anarchists in the fucking street and nothing's happening to them. You've got other people that are facing charges for stuff that is absolutely ridiculous. And all that being said, if it is Trump's fault for all of this and he should have done something, if this dude would have set in any type of martial law to anywhere and done something, it is a fascistic move from the federal government to override
The states.
the
That
states.
goes back to a lot of people. I think a lot of people bitching about how the pandemic was handled don't even know how civics in America works. Like for a state to receive federal aid in an emergency situation, the state itself has to declare a state of emergency.
I read somewhere where we've been in a state of emergency since the FDR administration. I don't know the validity of it on a legal sense.
Yeah.
But anything. You want a glass of water?
I'm good.
You sure?
Yes.
But no, what like I haven't seen anything I've seen has been from people that I know, and they're good people, but I know that they have a strong bias against the president because he's a douchebag.
He is a douche.
Notwithstanding, they're the same. They're the same people who, not to speak for what they believe, but seemingly one of their top principles of whether someone or not is qualified is whether or not they agree with this woke cult religion that's popping up. And clearly, the commander-in-chief is not a fan of the what used to be called PC culture. You know what I mean?
He's made it illegal or he's outlawed like the federal government doing business with anybody. This all stems from critical race theory.
Yeah, which I saw people sharing articles that they didn't call it critical race theory. They called it something
critical
else.
Theory.
Yeah, like.
But that actually is critical race theory. That's what it comes from. They take the race out because it makes it look a little more presentable. It's critical theory. It's theory.
Yeah.
But then,
well, it was about something that had like a diversity training. Somebody had worded it like Trump removes diversity training in the workplace, and I knew what they were talking about, and I was like, that is not what is going on. Like, it's extremely misleading.
It's so weird for people in mine and your generation. We're not millennials. I think we're like a year or two ahead. We're in that stopgap.
Yeah, we're in a pocket. Like
a pocket generation is separate. Like we're in between X, then we have us, and then there's the millennial.
I think we're generation Y. WHY.
Probably so. But like me and you were raised that you don't see color. Everybody's equal. There are exceptions. No, I mean I'm not gonna be fucking Shaq. Like like
well, no, but like you, everybody deserves equal opportunity
Yeah.
in life. You know what I mean? Doesn't mean like that on an individual level we're going to be equal. I am never, like, you're not going to be Shaq. I'm never going to be a short distance runner.
This might be a shock to a lot of people, but I will never be Usain Bolt. Like, I'm never going to break the world record in the 100-meter dash.
And that's okay.
And that's okay. I'm fine with that.
But interestingly enough, to that is one of these little tidbits of info in the critical race theory is it recategorizes something like racism or discrimination. I forget which of the nomenclatures it chooses, but it says that racism is in effect what happens anytime an inequity of results happens. So if that's the case, then like I guess in like the NBA would be an extremely racist organization.
Not a lot of white men throwing the ball around.
I have not seen one Asian transgendered person in the NBA. Not one. Sounds a little racist to me.
A little sexist, a little bigoted,
but I mean
transphobic.
People. It's kind of like how like folks that are like really big, like Jesus freaks and Bible pushers are just like I'm telling you, you don't do right. Like it's in the Bible. It's like
this stuff exists because of the collapse of like religion in the West. Like there's no dogma to adhere to gives order to the world.
No, it's just nihilism.
So this pops up. It gets some people to believe in. Like and it's literally mostly young, middle class, lower upper middle class white people who are espousing this shit.
Yeah,
it's utter horse shit. No one really thinks it through all the way because it kind of exploits our desire to be nice and accommodating to people. Like it's the nice thing to do. What is your cat?
Bonkers. Stop doing that. I know, but that has nothing to do with what we're talking about.
Is he talking about the Jews again? Come on.
Well, I mean, he's entitled to his opinions. It's just I don't want them on my show.
There you go. There you go. It's just so weird that, like, we were raised not to look at race or sex or gender or stuff like that.
Yeah, now
that's all that matters.
Yeah, it's a part of this religion, this secular, I would argue atheistic religion, or I guess they would call it a religious. You know what I mean? It's not though. It's a cult of something that uses group identity as like a telescope or a lens, rather, lens through which to view the world.
There's like you get these little memes that pop up every now and then. Like it's the picture of like the upper middle class daughter who have a conservative family, and she goes off to school, and it's like before and after like leftism or whatever. Mm-hmm. It's like she's a very attractive blonde, fit, whatever, and like she goes to school 4 years. She comes out, she's got fucking half shaved head, blue hair, and she's overweight, and like she's talking about the patriarchy and like Black Lives Matter and stuff. Like that's that type of transition.
Yeah,
and they all look the same. Like, and it's the same thing on the other side with the MAGA people. They all look the fucking same. They all think the same.
Yeah.
Like it's just there's no I'm my stupid ass. It's the collapse of like religion in the West. Like it's been on the downturn for 20 years, and it's going to keep going down.
It's a new age, and this is like. It's the same way as a Catholic, as in a universal religion, where there's this idea of like fundamentalism, where it's like, hey, if you don't agree with this, then we got a problem. It's like, agree with what? What are we talking about? Like, there's some dude who was talking about like a shirt. He was saying fuck Jesus. Fuck your racist Jesus and fuck anybody who doesn't wear this shirt. And he's pointing at his BLM merch that he got. I think it was Tim Dillon who pointed out he's like does a Revolution sell merch?
Yeah, that's the other thing. Was it Zuby said if
so again with the MAGA and like BLM and any of these sects as SECTS of the culture war that you can find, like that's it's infuriating because it's all just a big distraction that has taken things that don't matter, and they have blown them up into things that they're telling you these are the things that matter most, Meanwhile, what you should start doing is looking at your own fucking community first. Look for problems at home. My vote is not going to help whatever lawlessness is going on in Portland or Louisville, Kentucky, or other places where the citizens and the cops are not in harmony with each other. There's a problem that goes on there.
It does not matter who wins in November. Portland will still be a fucking shithole that has been the last 100 days. Those people are not going to fucking stop.
Dude, I've got friends in Portland that are just it's just because it's primarily left, so the left-wing folk there don't really rouse too much people, but then the Proud Boys come in out of the hills, and then
that's what's so weird about the West Coast is you have these fucking super strongholds of really left-leaning culture, all into way far left, you L.A., San Francisco, Portland, Seattle, places like that. But then when you get 10 miles outside the city limits, it's very red.
Yeah.
And California's really like that. When you get outside the cities, it's very, very red.
Right.
And that's so weird. It's not like in other areas of America, Atlanta and Macon and Savannah and Columbus, they're a little on the blue side.
They're purple. They're pretty purple.
They're purple.
Atlanta, I would say, is the bluest of the purple cities in the South.
And that's generally the way it is. Even up in New York, New York is very blue, the actual New York. Mm-hmm. When you get New York State, very red.
Yeah.
And that's kind of one of the things that's interesting about, I don't think the left took 2016 and analyzed why they lost. They just, we didn't win this way. We're going to keep hammering it until we win the way we want to win.
Yeah, they've been putting brakes on the wheels of progress, is the way I look at it. And I think it shows in some of these cities that whenever you get, and though I don't agree with a lot of these left-leaning cities, but the only way that they're going to be prosperous and continue the way they run their cities is by having a fraction of the populace that they have currently. There's too many people in their cities for them to try to run it this way. You look at LA, it's got a population the size of Valdosta, just the city limits, that they're homeless.
Yeah.
That's insane. Insane. There are you have too many people in these cities.
Not manageable.
No, because from what I've understood with people that have lived in these cities out west, and some of them are I encourage anybody that's living in a big city, dude, try the small town life, man. Try the rural life.
Yes, you can't drive 5 minutes to be in tons of multicultural restaurants and events and shit, but turn your fucking Netflix on. Go to a hiking trail. It's not the worst thing in the world to live in a rural area. It's not.
I do not ever want to live back in a city.
I just remember back when in high school, when Eric's crew and our crew, we'd be hanging out at Valdosta. Mm-hmm. It wasn't anything for us to drive to Valdosta. I won't go to Valdosta. But if you talk to them having to drive 25 minutes to Lakeland was like them having to drive all the way to fucking California. It was
I never minded it.
People are a little soft and a little spoiled because you have to travel and there's not things to do constantly. You're distracting yourself.
Well, the problem with small town is that there's tends to get a hive mind in a small town. You know what I mean? How's
that any different with a place like San Francisco?
Well, currently it's not, because now you've got you've just got like fucking madness going on in some of these big cities, dude. Like it is not help. Granted,
if you had to,
I'm not voting for Joe Biden, but it is not helping me have any hope for like if he wins for how these cities are going to be managed. I don't have much hope if Trump wins.
Well,
I know JoJo is not gonna win, but she still may get my vote. I don't know yet. You know what I mean? I'm undecided, but
if anybody is enthusiastically supporting Biden at this point, and like your only reason for voting is like I don't want Trump in office, I will take that.
That is all I've found. That the argument is that we have to get rid of him. I'm like, I've heard the same rhetoric for 4 years. We want to move into the future, man. Like,
well, it's like if that's your reason for voting for Biden, okay, I got it. But if it's his policies. What are his policies?
What are his policies? What is his competence? What is his vice president's competence? Because
she wore Timberlands, okay? She's obviously ready to lead.
Somebody online was like from New York was talking about like what the fuck, we've been wearing Timberlands for.
It was he has a radio show. Charlemagne the Gods.
Yeah.
Any of these fucking dumb fucking useless journalists or bloggers online like Kamala Harris is bringing Tim's back. It's like people wear Tim's every fucking day. Like it's a fucking work boot.
Yeah.
Useless. Fucking useless. 95% of what these fucking blogs and online papers, newspapers, BuzzFeed, fucking Slate, websites, 99, I'll be fair, 95% of the shit they put out is useless fucking information.
Yeah. Dude, I don't even pay attention to like movies anymore.
No, well, thank God there's none coming out right now. It has never been as easy as now to not give a fuck about movies.
Yeah, right? Like, even like...
So I don't even, like a lot of our friends are like Mike, loves watching movies. Rodney and Katie love watching movies. That's their thing to do. I could give a flying fuck about watching movies. I'd rather watch like a TV show that has a longer form story that has time to develop instead of them trying to get the points across in 2.5 hours.
Yeah. Like, what can you tell me in 2.5 hours like that a podcast can't go more in depth with?
Yeah, or like I'm fucking like there's never been a movie as good as Breaking Bad. You know what I'm saying?
A TV show?
Yeah, no, a movie. Period. There's never been a movie.
Oh, yo, I get what you're saying. Yeah,
that was as good as Breaking Bad or The Sopranos or
I don't know. The Lord of the Rings director's cut. It's pretty baller. 13-hour movie.
There are exceptions to that, like the
right.
Lord of the Rings, like
The Matrix is pretty solid though. The second half
is like the second half that series, like they got like they like cheaped on like they used interns and they just figured out the fucking copy tool. I don't know, just throw a bunch of fucking Smiths in there.
Yeah, like parts 2 and 3, like if you took out the action sequences and you just had the dialogue,
yeah,
you would probably have enough for like one movie if you start adding back in action sequences trimmed.
But how many movies?
I mean? They're making more now, but
okay, that's what Hollywood needs now is more fucking sequels of shit.
Yeah,
or remakes.
Yeah, but like the allure that gives to some people, like that, it's like as nostalgia is a drug. They don't do drugs, but like
the bad thing is like we're getting to the age that now the corporations see our nostalgia as a market.
Mm-hmm.
So now that's why you get like fucking like live action, not live action, the fucking CGI Lion King. Like because
it's totally live action.
You know what I mean? Them lions really talk.
But I mean, what's crazy is that they call it the live action, and it's like, bro, this is more animated than the original one.
Like, okay, I went and saw Lion King, the new one, in the theaters because my wife wanted to see it, and I'm married, so I don't have a choice.
Well,
happy wife, happy life.
Yeah, you should be a good husband. You know what I mean?
It wasn't bad, but like, it was like you had this animal.
How was the nudity in it? I heard all the animals were pretty naked.
I don't remember seeing a fucking scrotum. I was very disappointed.
That's why Red Dead Redemption 2's the GOAT.
Yep.
Of animal nudity.
But like, it was really weird to have this thing that is a soulless killing machine speak out of it's like a speakerphone in his mouth. And then like a while back, a couple weeks ago, somebody leaked me a thing that had somebody took AI and went through and like they kind of reanimated the movie, like the faces of the movie is like more cartoonish.
Mm-hmm.
It looked 110% better. Like you could have made like a live action cartoonish looking movie, and
right.
It would look better. But I digress. But like, what new thing has Hollywood produced in the last? What original idea in the last 2 years they've produced? It's been like Marvel movies, which are based on a universe that's already been written.
Yeah, it's already there.
What unique, interesting ideas have they put forth? It's not. It's all it's all commodities. It's safe choices. It's sequels. There's no like interesting indie films that like even like, they're out there, but like you don't ever see them.
Well, now Disney owns Marvel.
Yeah.
Like.
And see now what's going to happen is they've went through the whole Marvel universe like as it was originally written. From what I haven't watched these movies. I don't give a shit to.
I've seen some of them.
Like now they're
I've seen probably like a quarter of the
Marvel movies.
The Marvel movies.
But then like now
maybe a quarter.
But now they're going through and now they have to write their own movies. It's all new ideas.
Yeah, fanfic.
Yeah, and it's like the source. It's like Game of Thrones. Like Game of Thrones was good to about season 4, and then them two fucking dipshits, the writers of the show, showed they can't write what the fuck and fuck the rest of them show up.
I haven't finished it still. Game of Thrones.
Well, you should finish it, but you should also realize that you're walking off a cliff. So,
I'm okay with that.
But coming back to my point, what movie in the last 15 years was as good as
The Matrix.
Breaking Bad?
Oh, Breaking Bad.
Or like good? What's another great TV show? Like the first 2 seasons of Dexter. Like
Or even South Park. South Park like has a chronology with it. Like
yeah.
even like the movie, the musical.
Oh, I gotta pee again.
Damn it!
I don't have too much water.
That's okay. I gotta pee too.
Oh.
And we're back.
All right, so chronologically, South Park. We're good.
You sure?
Yes.
There's a table there.
I see that now.
Still good. All right.
All right.
But no, the like everything within the universe, or almost everything within the South Park universe, is canon, right?
Yeah.
Like relating to the pilot. Now I think they obscure the 2 original pilots, the crudely done Christmas special, and then there was one where the characters looked like how the South Park characters look.
Yeah.
As a Christmas special, and then there was a pilot. So everything from the pilot minus any video game before they did one that was a side scroller in 2013 or 2012, one of those 2 years. Every video game since that one is also tied in to like
the show and everything.
Yeah, the canon of the show, like, and the video game side of it, like with South Park Studios, like they make the game like associated with the studio
I think
itself.
it's cool that they made the first one, like the first what was the first
Stick of Truth.
Stick of Truth, like they really enjoyed doing that.
Dude, it's a fantastic
I
game.
haven't played either one of them.
Oh man, dude! If as a fan of South Park, you totally should like Stick of Truth and the Fractured Butthole.
Yeah.
I don't think I have Stick of Truth anymore. I think I lent it out, but I mean they're both like fantastic games.
I mean, everybody like Justin always like raves about them. So.
The there you can decide the first one anyway what different class and race your character is and all that.
Well, is the first trigger like when you change the difficulty, changes your skin tone?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Like
with that, the one of the another feature with it is the Jew. It's like spell absorption in like Elder Scrolls games. So the more bad shit that happens to you, the more powerful you become. Like it's like worked into like the metrics of the game.
I got
itself.
A little tip on in Discord, which is like an old. It's kind of like remember Ventrilo.
I got a Discord for conspiracy stuff.
Okay, yeah, on Discord, it's one of the game Discords. Like I got kind of like a thing with somebody. Like somebody made a joke about South. Like I think somebody linked the special, the pandemic special coming out, and then somebody linked some other stuff. We kind of like being fans of South Park, and this other guy in Discord kind of came in and like he wrote. You can see people writing or whatever, and he wrote for like 5 minutes. He came in with this whole spiel about like problematic, transphobic language, yada 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 yada.
Yeah.
And I was like,
so don't watch it.
Yeah, I was like, well, I mean, yeah, don't watch it. You don't like it, don't watch it. That's vote with your dollar.
Yeah. I.
And then I was like, the point I made is that his whole spiel was like, these are marginalized groups, and they should be making fun of them and stuff. I was like, no one in the world is above critique or criticism.
No,
and that is a cornerstone of that show. It always has been. It is one of the most culturally important shows we have.
Yeah, if it's okay to make fun of one thing, then it's okay to make fun of everything.
And that was one of his arguments. Like, it's not. He's like, it's not okay to make fun of everything. I'm like, yeah, it is.
Yeah, it is.
Completely,
yeah, it is.
Yeah,
you can't stop me from laughing. You can't stop other people from laughing at something. You know what I mean? Like that's an involuntary reaction. Like it's something like beautiful about it. Like whenever like you get like a good hearty laugh
that like comes out of laugh. I always remember the hardest I've ever laughed at a fucking TV show was Family Guy when Family Guy has these really random fucking like little things that pop up and like it was like apparently like the government showed up and Chris he's like yelled like run E.T. the government shit, and like E.T. busts out of the basement and runs off going yeah! And it fucking caught me so off guard that I literally blacked out laughing at it. And it was so fucking stupid, but it's like it's really weird what the dumbest stuff will make you do when you like what really trips you off.
Yeah, you don't choose, and like these fucking atheistic Jesus freaks is essentially what they are. That like they want to dictate language, they want to dictate content, they want to dictate humor, they want to be the thought police, the editorial guards in chief. You know what I mean?
Okay, like let's say last season was Strong Woman, the episode where fucking
the Macho Man Randy Savage.
I don't want to talk about my transition. It was like one of the funniest fucking lines I've ever done on the show. But people stop laughing about it. I don't want to talk about my transition. But like that, that to somebody who thinks that making fun of trans people is a problem will be so super offended. But like, what about all the years they spent making fun of fucking Bush and Republicans and stuff? The culture is changing, and they're changing. Like some of the language used, like calling things gay instead of stupid. Like I've eliminated that verbiage from my language.
I can agree with that as far as like my own colloquial taste buds and whatnot.
I don't say fag. I don't. If something's dumb, I say it's dumb. I don't say it's gay.
Right.
Like I don't use the N word anymore. Even in like joking around. Like I never use a term to disparage black people.
I know what you mean. It's not.
But like
not,
it's
not,
calling.
Not talking about marginalizing people.
But calling my friends that word, just being a dumbass kid. Like I don't do that anymore because it's.
Words have power with them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like there's something for those words that they become so cheapened. I feel in America because of free speech. It's a side effect of it. You know what I mean? When you're allowed to say whatever you want. I do think it's a good thing, but like the word fool used to be like a really huge insult.
Yeah.
Like,
you fool.
yeah, and like now it's not. You know what I mean? Like, but like rhetoric evolves, and even colloquialism, and even like to your point, like here in the buckle of the Bible Belt, like there's even like there's friends of mine that I knew them, back in the day in high school, and they were just like as fundamentally good old boy as you can imagine, and like now it's just like singing a completely different tune, because they had never been exposed, like they didn't know any gay people, they didn't hang out with folks that were a different culture, they didn't hang out with folks that were a different race, you know what I mean? So if you grow up being taught that life is this homogenized group and everybody else is just an outsider from you, you're going to have a pretty skewed look at the world.
Yeah,
I think that's
the world. That's the world that's been painted for you. That's the picture you see. It's the one that your parents gave you.
Yeah, and so I see this woke leftist cult rising up, and while I don't have some I'll see some stuff on like the QAnon board members post will be like, I'm telling you, they're here to take over the whole shindig. Like they're gonna ruin the family. Like nothing but communists. I'm like I that's a possibility, but I don't think that's what's happening here. My concern is more or less like this is a religion that they're not calling a religion, but it is. It's an ideology, and that they're getting essentially, from what I see, a thumbs up to start indoctrinating kids with this in public schools where they have a jurisdiction at.
Yeah.
And I don't like that any more than I like somebody who's like a Bible thumper that is trying to tell me that actually the earth was made in, what would that be, 144 hours? You know what I mean?
I think when you really, the problem with that is like it's like it's a minority dictating to what the majority needs to do. And when the problem is you really talk to the majority, a lot of majority people, like they don't care, or it's whatever. I'm not worried about it, or they don't like it, or they're indifferent. You know what I mean? It's what he's going to go to school. He's going to learn about your 92 different genders at age 8. So
just let kids be kids.
Let them be kids, exactly. If I have a son, and
they're teaching sexuality to kids in kindergarten in some of these schools. It's like, what the fuck are you doing, man?
Yeah,
that. It's not a good idea. Let kids be fucking kids, man. Well, let me rephrase that. Let kids be kids.
Yeah.
Whenever I have kids, the more and more I think about, man, I'm going like homeschooling or private schooling option. Somebody had talked about the bad idea of handing control of educating our kids over to the federal government with them not offering any competition. I know Trump has talked about we need competition in public schools. 100% on board, dude.
That was one of the big things. He did that big bill this week, or executive order for black families, whatever. We designated KKK and Antifa as a terrorist organization.
Yeah. So
school choice. If you don't want to see, if you should have the option to send your child to a private school if you want to. You've got some people on the left there that want total elimination of private charter schools.
Yeah, they want everything, which to me that's just statism, right? That's them. Well, that's them banking
indoctrination. Then
I'm sorry.
You don't have if there's a private school that can give an alternative view of whatever the state school is, you can't indoctrinate those children with what the state wants you to know.
Yeah, exactly. So they'll talk about Matt's guys, we're just a progressive or whatnot. It's like, no, you're not. You're status. You're a progressive status, but there's conservative status that, while they may they may say that they really like Trump, they just like the commander in chief that's Republican, and they want to follow that person to a T. You know what I mean? So they're pledging allegiance to the state, to the authority.
I don't want my children no more learning about 17. I don't want my kids to learn about being transgender no more than I want them praying in school.
No, I'm not gonna raise my kids with conspiracies or anything.
I'm sending my child to school to learn how to read, write, do math, figure out what he wants to do in life, and then go out there and be a productive adult. I don't need you indoctrinating my kid with views that I find conflict in your mind. Like, it's not the state's job to impart values onto people. It's my job is that daughter, son, or whatever they want to be,
right,
to impart the values I think are important to them, not the state.
Yeah,
that's part of the problem. Like, I know in California, like, part of sex ed, which they're required to take, has a bunch of really odd shit that, like, goes into, like, anal sex and, like, I'm sounding like a fucking evangelical right now. Like,
they have things in the documents that talk about sodomy to children.
But that's not
burn.
But I'm. But like, that's my job as a parent to talk to them about that type of stuff.
Right.
It's not the state's job.
Yeah. I don't want some strange adult talking about sex, like, with a kid. You know what I mean? I had sex ed even in, like, Catholic school.
Yeah.
But I was 11. I was, like, pubescent at this part where they're like, all right, guys, check it out. So we're going to split the class where the males are going to go, and you're going to have a class with just the guys, and the females are going to go. You have a class just the girl. Yeah. So I mean, it's really marginalizing whenever you're trying to educate people about what's happening to them biologically, and then you're like, now, anybody that has testicles and a penis, go in this room. You know what I mean? Like so, it's like rewriting nature with extra steps.
Yeah.
You know, so like, whenever kids, like, are coming of age, that's when they should have sex ed. Like,
you should be teaching an 8-year-old what a boner and if you're an 8-year-old boy, you know what a fucking boner is already. But like, the other side that you have parents who won't have the talk with, like, their daughters and their son about sex. There's some parents that won't even talk to their daughter about what a period is. Like,
yeah.
Like, you know, there are some parents who are absent from that. Like, that's very important. Like, that's what I talked with me and my wife was like, you know, when it comes time that we got 13 and 14-year-olds, like, you need to have a real discussion about sex and, like, listen, you know, I'm not going to be with you know, when they 14, 15, 16, 17, they're going to be out and away from the house. And I have no control over what you do then.
Yeah.
I hope to God how I raised you has
had some good effect.
Had some good effect, but like, if you happen to go do these things, you need to know these things.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's like, and I guess that's sometimes where the state needs to step in and like, and that's, you know, those in the 90s, like, you know, it's only going to be abstinence we teach at sex. It's like, no, you fucking idiot, no. Were you not 14 once?
Have you ever had a rush of hormones before? Yeah. You're just like, fuck, man, I'm supposed to wait till marriage. God damn, man.
I mean, if you ever, I remember 14 waking up when I could probably nail fucking nails in the wall. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, it's you got to be real about things. Like, and then it comes back to, like, teaching kids about, like, the different genders and stuff, and like, it needs to be listened. If you feel like you're somebody, if you feel that I'm probably getting, this probably ruins my chances of ever running for president. But like, if they're going to have to teach,
you already established that politics is not your future.
They're not going my fucking text message. I'll probably in jail. Like it comes back to, like, I've had this conversation with somebody before. It's like, you have to raise your kids as the world is, not as you want it to be.
Yeah, the world is not how you want it to be.
Like, there will be people who are transgender. There are people who are gay. There are people there will be non-binary. Like, you need to explain to these kids, this is what these people are, and this is how you're supposed to treat them.
Yeah. Not
trying to say this is who you are, and you feel like you're a girl. And like my little nephew would say he was for 2 years he was a girl, but he's also 2 and 4 years old. He's just
he decided he's good.
He's all boy now, and he swears he has a boy, but he's just being a shithead.
Right.
But you got people who are, when their 3-year-old says, I'm a girl, they're wanting to immediately start doing fucking hormone therapy. It's that type of shit. Like, children are impressionable.
Yeah.
Like, I'm really, but I think if you're going to be teaching kids about that type of stuff, you need to teach them that these are things that exist in the world. Treat these people with respect and love.
Yeah.
Treat them like a person. Don't dehumanize them. dehumanize them.
Dehumidify them.
Remove all the water from their body. But like, don't dehumanize them. Like, that's what it needs to be. And I remember what they're teaching. Part of the curriculum in like some of the California schools was not that, and the families didn't even know about it.
Yeah.
See, like it was back in when we were the sex ed age, you had an option to opt out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Which that's the state's going to do this thing. You don't have to do it.
Well, we had a book as well.
Yeah.
Like, because it was like, part of the curriculum of the science class that year was anatomy, right?
It's biology, like
yeah. So, my parents saw what was in the books. You know what I mean? I remember being 11 in 5th grade, and I was reading ahead because I wanted to know. I was like, yeah, but how did they make the baby? How'd she get pregnant?
Yeah.
And then it said that like the woman or the guy. I always get them confused. The guy puts his penis in the woman. Like I said, I'm still new to it myself. Only gotten laid a couple times.
Yeah.
But
I think.
And that's how like she got pregnant. That was sexual intercourse. So I thought for like 2 or 3 years that like if you wanted to get pregnant, that you just
laid in there.
Yeah, you got a boner and you just slid it in there.
What if like your first time, like you just like how you thought it was, you just slid in there and just looked there like a fucking idiot. Just dead-eyed stare.
Don't even blink.
Don't even blink. Don't even move.
Just awkwardly smiling. Like,
and you're like, and then you're like, why is nothing happening? And then it's like your first time, so she like goes to get up and like there's actually friction for one time, and you like just everywhere.
Yeah, she's like, this is stupid.
I'm uncomfortable.
But yeah, that's what I thought. And then it wasn't until I think it was like 7th grade or so, then I jacked off for the first time. I was like, oh. Well,
first time I ever did that, I thought I broke. I thought I broke it. Like, I didn't know. I knew what it was, but like, I wasn't expecting it to happen, and I was like, oh god, I'm going to hell. And then that summer, it was like, I was on a mission every day.
Got to break the number,
I gotta get these numbers up, man.
Got up to 13.
Good God.
I was like 16 or something like that.
Your dick had a dry cough, I bet.
Dude, it was a rough summer.
Had all this like heel callus things, get the callus off your dick. Like, scrape it off. So yeah, you've been playing Oblivion. I wanted to start with that, but then.
Oh yeah. When you started talking about grass, I was like, man, I could tie that in with Oblivion with some of like the atmosphere, and like the environment, and like when did it come out? Oblivion, 2004?
No, Oblivion came out in 2006 because I'll always remember the day it came out, and I wish Justin was here because I tell the story all the time.
Yeah,
it came out, we lived on Park Lane. I played Morrowind, which was one of my favorite games.
Morrowind was cool. I hated the fighting in it though.
It was very robotic and
plus the dialogue, because it had so much dialogue, but it was all reading. Where it's like, fuck, man, like.
Yeah, that was one of the big complaints I had with it. But it was like the first game on a console where you could like explore a world like that.
Yeah.
So I was real excited about that thing because it's all voice acting and all that type of shit. And I lived with Justin and Philip. And Dane had brought his drum set over there. It set it up in the computer room, which was adjacent to the living room where the Xbox was. So I get up at like 11 o'clock. I rush to GameStop, get my pre-order, run home, plop it in the 360, and lo and behold, fucking Satchmo wakes his ass up at like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. He'd wake up and sing always. Whatever it was, whatever fucking pop song was going on, he'd sing it. So I'm like, you got the fucking the king guy doing like the monologue and the dialogue, like blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
And during this whole entire thing, he's like all this exposition. He's like setting up the story, and this fucking asshole roommate of ours and friend decides to start playing the drums during all this. And it's
Poorly
like,
at that.
and it's like doom chi doom chi doom doom doom. It's the same fucking beat for 30 fucking minutes. I'm trying to like get into this fucking video game. Ruined the fucking intro to the game for me. So that was, yeah.
I know the exact beat you're talking about.
Yeah. If his big, long, lanky ass sat down on a fucking drum set, that's the beat he played. He'd been a
Just
fucking
over and over.
He'd been a fucking like perfect country drummer, like for a country, like a house band for a country singer.
Oh my god.
But yeah, Oblivion.
Let me see. No, it's not the T-Pain album. That's not what I like.
What are you looking up?
I want to see when it actually got released.
It
Hang on.
was
Let's see. March 20th, 2006.
Yep. Because I had not lived there long. I'd moved out in like February. Moved in there in February. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's summer I moved down to Orlando.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I remember I got Oblivion whenever I came back from Orlando, so this would have been later half of 2007.
Yeah.
And like it just like I became so enamored with it. Like this, because if you were outside in the world, like there was no loading time or anything. Like
Yeah.
it was just like one big open world. I was like, that is incredible, because it was like Grand Theft Auto, except like a
With
fantasy
spells
game.
and assassins.
Yeah.
Plate armor.
And 10 voice actors.
Yep.
For every character in the game.
And the most robotic, like this, they'll be like walking and then like just turning like look at you and then they'll just start talking.
What
Well,
seems
those
to be the
games-
problem?
Yeah, exactly. Like those games, even for all their warts and like issues they have, like they let you experience a world like not all of it, like you're in that world when you're playing. Like you
Yeah.
can get immersed in it, and like there's exploration and mystery and shit. Like
Justin, he's got I guess one of those VR sets or whatnot. He
Yeah.
said that Skyrim, like opening up on it, is incredible. He said it's terrifying.
I bet it is. And then like,
But
now
I
it-
mean, yeah, like Oblivion though, man. Like that's my favorite game, like hands down.
even more than Skyrim.
Skyrim's incredible. But
Wait.
the the beginning of Skyrim is always like the bitch of it, because it's like, fuck man, this is like an hour.
You
that,
can't.
like,
You can't skip the intro.
yeah. But like once you can, and like you can actually start, it's I like that they took some things in Oblivion that I could exploit and got rid of.
Yeah.
So like I think that's one thing I like Oblivion more than, like, so for instance, like
That's one thing people love about those games. Like they let you break the game.
yeah, even the some of the mods for Skyrim, like they've made mods where like you can skip the intro.
Yeah.
And like you can choose where to start the game, but like it causes like all of these bugs
Yep.
from not going through like the intro. So you can start visiting like some of these castles, and some of the dialogue will be related to the dragon attack,
Yeah.
but it hasn't happened. So like other things won't happen because
It just fucks everything up.
yeah. But like in Oblivion, like I just because we were hoping Justin was going to come down, so I was like in the spirit of it.
Got in the mood.
So I created a new character. It's a Khajiit. His name is Rick Meowsy-Wowski. And one of the exploits I got, the game starts after Patrick Stewart does his intro, and it zooms in on the jail cell, and that's where your character is. And I immediately go into sneak mode. I'm like, let me see how I can level up before in the cell across from you. There's a character that will start a line of dialogue, and once he does start his line of dialogue, it's going to trigger events to where the Blades, those guardsmen of the royal family, and the king, Uriel Septim, I think that's his name. Yeah. So I positioned myself behind like a little table that's in the cell, and then got in a crouch and just started like holding down the joystick, and he couldn't see me, so I just leveled up. And when it got to like 25 or so, then a little prompt dialogue box comes up. It's like, hey, you're now an apprentice. Hey, you're a journeyman. You're an expert. So I got as you get higher up, it takes longer and longer to level up in that. So I was ready to go to bed, so I just set up a rubber band, like a hair tie, around the controller because it was on the last bit. So the final prompt that would come up would be, you just mastered it. So congratulations. So now I started the game with like 100 sneak.
Oh, you just rob people just fucking blind. Like
oh yeah. So I had like a wolf and a bear. And like some other wolves joined in. They're chasing me as I'm just like, riding a horse, like trying to find locations to open up the map. And then once I get off the horse, I just go to some place with a shadow and crouch, and then all the animals are just like
oh shit.
Or like jumping up the side of mountains. Like
they Oblivion was the good parts of Morrowind. With some of the more design they went to in Skyrim. The gameplay in Skyrim is better than Oblivion.
Oh, hands down, yeah.
But the story and the world is not quite as good as Oblivion is.
Well, like Oblivion with the DLC with it, it had the Knights of Nine, which it's
okay.
Yeah, it's okay.
You
have to visit all of the shrines like you do the Daedra shrines, but it's for the way shrines for the benevolent gods, for like Akatosh and Julianos and then like you battle this invisible dude in the sky a couple times, and you talk with ghosts and you find stuff. I mean, it's cool, but the other one has the Shivering Isles.
Yes.
Like, holy smokes!
I think what I've always understood, it was the because you're basically in the world of the gods, correct?
Yeah, you're in.
So it's visually way different than anything you saw in the where did Oblivion take place? Cyrodiil, yeah.
Yeah. Who's that? Who's the god? Sheogorath.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like the animals there are different. The people are different. Sheogorath I think he's the Daedric god of madness. So his islands that he rules, his realm, they're split into like, it's kind of like a bipolar kind of thing. So like half the island is like amber, like a gold sap, like kind of like yellowish colored, and the other side of it is like greenish iron ore, and it's a visually very stimulating. The voice actor who does Sheogorath does a really awesome job, and the character design is cool, and even the dungeons in it, like, it's really fantastic. But what was the one for Skyrim that they had? It was like you go to
both of them were dog shit.
Well, one of them I like, the vampire one. I like that one because it had that character Serana, I think was her name. You find like you're in this tomb and you're supposed to be finding an Elder Scroll, and you open up this puzzle and it raises this sarcophagus, and inside is this woman that's a vampire that's holding this scroll.
Yeah.
And she's like, "This is my scroll." She's like, "I need you to take me someplace with it." And like, I like that. But the other one was you go someplace in Morrowind. I forget the name of the island, but it's an island that's near where the volcano is. And
yes, I forgot. I don't remember. Was that the werewolf one?
The werewolves. I think
that was Morrowind.
Mm-hmm, there's still werewolves there, but I think the werewolf, what was it, the clan or something that it's called in Skyrim. It's in Winterhold,
yeah.
I think, is the city it's in. But no, the god that they had in that one was Hermaeus Mora. It was the tentacle god.
The hentai god.
Yeah, the Lord of Hentai tentacles. But it was cool, but it produced these bugs in the game where it was like this guy Mirak was his name that had like, he was like another what do you call it? Somebody who can shout. Whatever your character.
Dragonborn.
Yeah, Dragonborn.
Yeah.
But he was like, malevolent that served the will of Hermaeus Mora. But he would sometimes would show up and steal the dragon soul after you kill a dragon in Skyrim.
Yeah.
And then sometimes he wouldn't, and it would cause the game to glitch out. So sometimes you would play the story through, and you get to the final scene where you fight him, and he won't come down off of his dragon that's just circling this tower. So it's kind of like a you can't catch me, and like that's like how it stuck. And I'm not sure what series of events triggered it, but it happened on like more than one occasion of me like playing through like that Solstein. That's the name of it. The Solstein quests.
How many hours do you think you have put in the Elder Scrolls series so far?
Oh my gosh, man. Well, let me see. I haven't beaten Skyrim all the way through. There's even locations I've gone through. I think there's like, on the story that I had done the most, I think it was either Popsicle Jones or Pepsi Turtle Dove. Those were the two characters.
What the fuck do you get these damn names from?
From my brain. But one of them I had I think I had like around like 20 locations or so left that I hadn't found. So I'd found like a lot. There was one in Oblivion one time I went through and I found everything. I did every quest that I could do that wasn't bugged out in some way. And even there's a series of quests that don't appear in your journal in Oblivion that you can do. I think there's like 5 or 6 of them.
They're ones you kind of the old school Oblivion way of Morrowind, where you kind of had like the game warden itself told you like where to go and what to do. Like that's how the quests were in Morrowind. Is like you need to go this far out, look for the tree shaped like this, and then go east, stuff like that.
What was your favorite faction that?
And which one?
In Oblivion.
Oh, the Assassin's Guild, hands down.
Oh fuck yeah, the Dark Brotherhood.
Dark Brotherhood. Like that whole quest line was like incredibly well done. And I will say that in Skyrim, that's probably the weakest thing about Skyrim is all the writing for all the guilds is pretty generic and not very interesting.
I didn't like the Mages Guild.
That's the only one I never did in
Skyrim.
Yeah.
I mean it's worth doing, but like some of the stuff is just like, all right, so we're killing more Draugrs, huh? All right, so we're killing more flying orbs, huh?
Yeah,
it gets kind of. I get the same feeling from like first-person shooters where it's like, all right, dude, like this is really repetitive.
That's kind of like I really fell off. Like I'll play Destiny a little. I haven't in a while, but like cause
that's the post Halo.
But
Bungie
like
game.
as far as like single player shooter games, they're always like you go into a room, you clear all these bad guys. You might get a new weapon or an upgrade for your current weapon, and then there's some exposition of the story, and it's the same thing over and over and over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Like, there's better ways to deliver a story by making me run through a fucking treadmill to get to it.
Yeah, that was my biggest gripe with the Halo series, as far as single player, was that like story's incredible.
Oh yes,
the environments and the worlds that like awesome visually, but some of the levels after a while, it's just like, good God, dude! Like I'm so tired of this. Like
I mean, really, the story of Halo for me is us being at the fucking Blue House. That's what Halo is for me.
LAN parties and
fucking Dane call me a fat ass across the room every 3 minutes.
The worst things, like there is something about that with video games, and like even with like the idea of like LAN parties and whatnot, where like you would there was one place Justin and Tim had where they had that duplex, and you would have a team downstairs and a team upstairs.
Yeah, that was one behind
the bar, Charlie O's. Yeah. But like there would just be just sort of like a random group of teams, you know. Yeah. It wasn't like oh, me and Bill are always on the same team. Like, yeah, okay, crybaby, you and Bill are on separate teams today. But like I love that, man. Like that's.
I mean, Xbox Live, it's great. Be able to sit in your living room and play with your friends. That's all fine. But there's something that will always be lost about being in the same fucking room or a room over, and your friends are playing like 4 on a screen, playing Capture the Flag. Like there's nothing will ever be like I play a lot of video games, and sometimes I think about myself like on my deathbed where I regret playing like all this fucking World of Warcraft and EverQuest and all that type of stuff. One thing I know I'll never fucking regret is playing Halo at Mike's house.
Oh my God, dude! Like such formative years. I lost my virginity in that house, man. Like good times. Turn that off. Sorry. But no, there is something about that. Like it has something to do with like male bonding. Yeah. You know what I mean? And
like if I get lung cancer, it's probably because of all the nights at Mike's house. Because you walk in there at 10:30 and open the fucking front door, and the smoke would pour out like it was a bar.
There was one time I remember he was on some binge from gaming. He took off from work, and so I was like, we were going someplace to eat. You're like Mike, you want us to bring anything? He's like, nah, I had a butter sandwich earlier.
Yeah.
I'm good. How long have you been sitting?
I remember it was when I think it was Dead Alive. One of the Dead Alives came out, and like he sat down and played it. It seemed like I left that afternoon, like 1 o'clock, and came back later that night. He did not look like he'd moved.
Probably not, man. Like there is something alluring about like video games, you know, probably the same way like a bonfire is alluring to people. You know what I mean? It's something about the flicker of the light.
In my older age, like I used to be able to sit down, like hell, you saw it back when I lived at Park Lane. Like I'd sit and play World of Warcraft like 16 hours a day some days.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to put in more than an hour and a half playing a video game now.
Like I told you, I don't know if we were rolling yet or not, but like yesterday, you know, like it's the first time I'd sat down and like played a video game, and golly, man, like
Red Dead.
Yeah, so probably like a couple of like months or so. Because normally, if I sit down to play, it's normally just like, let me kill some time real quick.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, to your point, as far as like regret and time spent and all that, I mean, shit, man. I think as long as if you're doing something productive with life, you know what I mean? That like, as far as your leisure time or whatnot, I mean, shit, like how else are you supposed to be spending it? Like you groveling at the church or protesting in the streets? You know what I mean?
You can't fill your fucking every hour of your day with like productivity. Like you've got to have time for your body and mind to rest. And if it's reading a book, watching a TV show, staring at nature, playing, you know, a game, and yelling at 12-year-olds because they kill you. I mean, it's that's just how you unwind. But like, it's I think because I've played so many games. That's good grammar. So many grain.
So many grains of sand dropped in the hourglass.
I've played so many games in the last 15 years. Like, you you kind of burn out because you've seen everything, and it comes back to like what we were saying earlier about. I mean, there's no movie as good as Breaking Bad was, generally speaking.
Yeah.
Like there's only like true banger video games, like maybe 2 or 3 a generation, and the rest is just filler bullshit they're trying to make money off of.
Yeah, once a year, I'll usually like buy a game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The last one last year I bought was Outer Worlds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember recommending it to you because it was basically Space Skyrim.
Yeah, and it's a fun game. It is it's no Elder Scrolls game.
My understanding
it's no Rockstar game either. Like Rockstar with Red Dead 2. Holy shit, man!
My understanding of what Obsidian did with that is that they made Fallout New Vegas. They got contracted by Bethesda to make a Fallout knockoff or spinoff, and it ended up being better story wise and gameplay wise than the original Fallout. And the whole internet drama is like, well, they got pissed off and told them they weren't going to be on that project anymore, so they terminated the contract or whatever. So they turned around and made their own like Fallout game. And my understanding of the criticism was it was kind of you can probably correct me if I'm wrong. It kind of presented itself as like you have all these rapidly different, wild, swinging different choices that affect the outcome, but then in the end it really didn't.
No,
it was kind of linear in some ways versus being kind of freeform and open.
It was definitely more linear than it was open.
Yeah.
Now, as far as like some of the dialogue tree stuff that's in the game, really cool. Really cool. And it would introduce things where it's like, well, you can't use this dialogue unless you have this skill up this high.
That's
cool.
Like,
yeah. So like that's like fuck, man. Like, okay, so if I come back to this, I need to have like more charisma points towards persuade or lie or engineering or anything that may come up in dialogue. That's really cool. But yeah, whenever you finally do like beat the game, like the end of it is kind of like it's like a newsreel.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like a weak payoff where it's like scientist Jim went back to the planet.
There's no like satisfying conclusion to the story.
Not really, and it also like it doesn't leave much to like going back into the world.
Yeah.
To
explore.
Yeah.
That's the thing about like the Elder Scrolls game. Once you beat the main story, like everything else you've done is still there to go do.
Oh yeah, this particular go round I've got going on. I'm going to save the main quest for Dead Last.
So that's how I play it.
Well, part of it is because once you go to Kvatch and you start the main quest line, then all the Oblivion portals will open up all over the map, right? But if you don't start that, you can freely traverse and like do everything else. You can find every location in the game, and then once you finish all your quests, then when you start the main quest line, then you have all of these places that you can fast travel to.
You knock it out real quick.
Yeah.
See, Obsidian people made Outer Worlds are doing their own like high fantasy Skyrim game.
The game that I am looking forward to, and which this yearly purchase will go towards, will be Cyberpunk.
I was say you need to check that shit out because that's CD Projekt Red and
the last Witcher game, which I mean I saw, and then you gave to me as a gift, and you were like, "This is one of the best games you ever play." And I was like, no, it's fantastic as far as a choose your own adventure and like some consequences in that game, like. Oh my god, dude, like the empathy that like it'll yield in you, because some of those choices where it's like, I really fucked up. And like Geralt, like his story, like you can really fuck up an ending.
What's like, that's kind of, and what I really like, a lot of stories are about like, you'll know when that choice is being made. How some of this like some of the choices you make, you don't even know you're making, they affect the story. Like you don't know in the first act with I have to play the game so long. The Bloody Butcher guy. The first act with it.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. The Baron.
Baron, yeah. Baron, yeah.
Oh, Witcher.
Yeah.
You don't know anything, Witcher. You're just a Witcher. Witcher.
Yeah, that guy. But like, you don't know you're making choices the whole first act to get into that.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't know what actually affects the outcome is the choice you make at the tree.
Yeah.
Where you kill the tree and let it live. So if you let the tree live, he ends up hanging himself.
Yeah.
If you kill the tree, the effect of the tree, changes the story.
Yeah.
It's stuff like that. Like, I think one of the choices you make when you go through you go into it's the Snow White and Seven Dwarfs part of the story. You go into this, like the choice you make there, I think actually affects the outcome at the end of the game.
Well, I know, like, as far as Geralt's final story, it goes down to 5 choices that have to relate with just Ciri.
Yep.
And it has an odd number for her disposition, and I think you have to have at least 4 of them a certain way to get the good ending, and then if you have 3,
Yeah.
then you get this ending, and if you only have 2, you get like
The bad ending. Where she I was talking to somebody, it was online I think, and they were talking. And I was like, "There's like 3 endings." I was like, "What?" I'm like, "Yeah, there's 3 endings."
yeah.
I said, "You got the bad one." He
Yeah.
said, "That was the bad one." I was like, "Yeah, she died." Yes.
She goes through the portal and that's it, and then it ends. Yeah, Geralt's like in the swamp, like he made his way back to the crone's house, like chasing them down, and then you see all the water hags surrounding the cabin, about to kill Geralt, essentially, And I mean, just like the whole tone of it, like, because you fight a werewolf, and then you don't end up killing the werewolf, and you think like, well, maybe this redeeming thing will give me something else. It's like, no, it's just you choose to be good or not. But what you've done is already done, and Ciri's dead, and you're in the swamp now.
And I think that's like. See, I read the first book. I'm about a quarter worth of the second book.
Mm-hmm.
They did a very good job of like translating his character into the game, and even in the show. Have you seen the show yet?
No, I canceled Netflix.
Why would you do that?
I hadn't been. I used it only for like certain shows for a while, and then, with the music and the podcast and whatnot, I just want to spend my downtime. Like if I'm going to sit in front of a screen or something.
Might as well be doing something constructive.
Yeah. And then the cuties thing happened. I was just like, nope. So cancel.
Cole, I don't think you understand what they're trying to do. They're trying to make a comment on the sexualization of children.
By bisexualizing children, yeah. It's a really profound
how
argument.
are you supposed to make the point, Colt?
Murder is wrong. Now, to demonstrate that, I'm going to kill a member of your family in front of you.
You're learning your lesson.
No. None of you guys do this. Naughty, naughty. They also would have had to have, I think the story was supposedly up to 650. From what I saw, it was just around 600. Little girls had to audition for these filmmakers.
If you want to just use like numbers and statistics, there's probably at least 2% of those girls that went to those auditions probably got molested.
I mean,
given what we very little we know about Hollywood, and when it comes to children, there's a high chance that
Well, I'm not for the sexualizing of kids, so I'm also pretty firmly against beauty pageants as well.
You're consistent.
Very
rare these days.
I've seen this come up a lot with these straw man argument memes. Of just like some of the people saying you cancel Netflix are the same people that are watching Terrors and Toddlers. It's like, hey man, I don't like either one of those.
No, that's a boring. Like, there's people in our community that take their kids to those things. I'm like,
yeah, I've got some friends that do it, and
I don't
like
understand
I just again like I don't think it necessarily makes them a bad person. I think you're. I think the moral scope is a little more nuanced than that. But personally, I'm not for it at all.
Well,
I've got a pretty hard moral line that I draw with that.
If you want to let's exclude like the really creepy pedophilic overtones of it, like you're teaching your daughter that beauty is the only thing that matters.
Yeah, exactly. So like not a fan of it at all. I'm not a fan of. Goes back to stuff with like letting the state educate and instill values in your kids. I'm not about subjecting kids to things that are for adults.
Yep.
And that, and if somebody wants to raise their child and put them in beauty pageants and instill in them values of you're to be judged as far as your beauty and not your character or actions or ideas, and go ahead and wow us with your talent and dress up, parade in all these outfits, make sure your hair's just perfect, make sure your makeup's done perfectly,
get your little bikini on.
Like not a fan of this. That's one of the critiques I agree with on Trump's character is him. Was it the Miss Teen USA? Him being the owner of that or affiliated with it in some way.
Those things like that are like relics of like the 50s and 60s and 70s. They need to go away.
Yeah, I'm not about it at all.
Actually, the whole idea of a beauty pageant itself is really fucking dumb. Like I don't know how. They don't serve a purpose anymore. If you're Miss America, what is the fuck? Like you're the prettiest person. Like beauty is subjective. Who I think is beautiful isn't the same thing as you.
Oh yeah, I totally agree with that.
It's such a dumb fucking idea. But back to cuties. There's ways to talk about. There's been a couple of people make good points. Like you didn't have to show the girls dancing the way that they did.
Yeah. I've seen these clips of like the cinematographer's choice or the DP, the director of photography's choice of some of these edits. Is like, what the fuck are you doing showing these?
I think if you have created a movie to try to make a comment on the sexual relations of children and it leads to there being actual X videos and Pornhub searches for those scenes, I think you've really landed off the mark.
Yeah, what the fuck, dude? So I mean, point being, I have not watched The Witcher, even though before I even canceled Netflix, I hadn't watched it yet. Anyway,
I would say at the very least, pay for a month if you got downtime, watch it, cancel it.
I can't give them my money, dude. I can't do it. I don't use Hulu. It comes free with Spotify.
Yeah.
But even Trey Parker and Matt Stone, they're moving off of Hulu. They're going to HBO.
Max.
So that'll be
your next.
That'll be who gets my money. I'll support Matt Stone and Trey Parker.
Vote with your dollar.
Yeah, I mean I firmly believe that. I protest with my dollar too. I
wish a lot of people in America would understand that. If you don't like South Park, don't watch South Park. Eventually, enough people will not watch South Park that they might have to cancel the show or go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's not going to happen. The only people that will kill South Park are Matt and Trey.
Yeah. Well, it's that because the way they make the show and so they store the animation, they store the dialogue, like everything's stored in a database form, the character movements, the backgrounds. All this stuff, and if you listen to the commentary or the mini commentary that was on the DVDs, they would talk about some of these things. They were in one season in the one episode in the 7th season, the boys, it's Christmas in Canada.
Yeah,
and they were talking about at the end, Cartman tells Kyle that he missed Christmas, and he told him that they were going to fight. So, Kyle just sort of smacks him one time.
Yeah.
And Cartman starts crying. And they use a specific type of mouth.
Yeah.
And specific animation of him crying. They're like, this is the first time we did this. And now, that animation is stored.
Yeah.
Eternally, in their database. So they've got so much dialogue built up with their characters that it has the potential, I think, to be something eternal, how Star Wars and Disney is going to be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're making their own universes. Well, you can do that with South Park as a cartoon as well, because it's the only thing that was ever hand animated in the show that wasn't an homage was the pilot. Everything else has been stored on computers.
Just to think that show started with them doing cardboard construction paper cutouts.
Yeah. Mind-boggling, and they're still going.
Are they going to actually do a season this year, or is it just going to be that special?
From what I understand, understand, I think it's going to be another season. I think their contract is still 10 per year,
Yeah.
if I'm not mistaken. The last season was they did everything was Integrity Farms.
Yeah.
And I liked
Integrity Farms.
I liked how meta it become within the season when they were like we're tired of this. So I can imagine that's like Trey Parker listening to either the folks at South Park or at Comedy Central, just like Trey, you got to take us off the farm.
Yeah.
Folks are turning to South Park. They don't want to watch Integrity Farms, and they center it even more so around Randy,
Yeah.
and more so about Integrity Farms. I like that. I like that that they're still going with it. But I haven't given that to the Witcher and whatnot. But the really awesome thing about the Witcher is not just one thing.
No,
Like
it's everything.
it's incredible.
Like the fucking the song the zone music and Ark Skellig that plays, the Fields of Ark Skellig. Like I listen to that just by itself. Like it sets the tone for that zone perfectly.
Yeah.
Like the music is everything, and that comes back. Like in the gaming industry, there's a problem with crunch and kind of devaluing human people and stuff like that. Dehumanizing, like making them work these ungodly hours for shitty pay and crunch and all that type of stuff. And I can tell you the studios, they're really conscious of, and I don't mean to sound like this heartless capitalist, but like the studios that really focus on like we're going to work 8 hours a day, no crunch. The product they make is not as good as somebody who they spend 6 months trying to get this. The passion shows up better.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. You people that are coming in for 8 hours, get the job. Oh, I work in the gaming industry. I work at XYZ or whatever. The product they make is not nearly as good as the shit that CD Projekt Red made with The Witcher, which they spent years trying to make.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Long hours.
And it shows.
And yeah, it shows.
So I'm really excited to see what Cyberpunk has to offer. When have they announced a release date for it?
It is basically a release date. It's November 10th, I think.
Yeah.
It's when the new Xbox comes out.
So it's only going to be for
No. It's going to be for
Xbox One.
It'll be a cross gen.
That's what's up.
You think you'll get another console? I know not now because you're going to a point where like maybe a couple years down the road.
Eventually. Well, I mean, hell, Microsoft just bought Bethesda.
That's fucking like. There's this whole weird thing with like what's going on now. Like,
Oh fuck, man. Can we pause real quick? I gotta pee.
no, piss on yourself.
I can't do it. Hang on.
Yeah. So,
And Microsoft buying Bethesda.
yeah. So you have this really weird like. If you've been in gaming long enough, no, like in the know, I guess you'd say like Sony has always been. They've had a long history of really good first party exclusives like Metal Gear Solid, Silent Hill, Final Fantasy, hundreds of other games that like were exclusive to that platform.
Yeah. Same thing with Nintendo.
Microsoft has never really been about exclusives. They had Halo, but like their whole thing was like making their box the multi-platform box. That's why 360 was so successful. Was like it played Modern Warfare extremely well.
Mm-hmm.
Had the great party features. Everything worked perfectly. Where it wasn't so much so on Nintendo. So in the last gen, like the model for success was console sales. So whoever had the most consoles was winning the generation.
Yeah.
But we go into this current gen with the PS4 and Xbox One.
PS5.
Well, no,
You're right. Yeah, sorry.
Where Microsoft fucked up so bad that the PlayStation 4 sold almost 3-1. So about midway through this generation, they changed their model for success, not to hardware sales, but Xbox Live subscriptions.
Mm-hmm.
And this is materialized into Game Pass. And now going into this upcoming gen in November, where you got the PS5 and the Xbox Series X, you have two different ideas of what success is. Going forward, PlayStation's is going to be on this very traditional generational hardware model of like hardware units sold equals we're having success. Microsoft is watching what Netflix and Disney are doing with products and services.
Mm-hmm.
Their goal is to have Xbox not be a piece of hardware, but a platform to play from. So you'll be able to have Game Pass and xCloud. So you in probably 5-6 years, you'll be up on your iPhone. We'll be playing an Xbox Live exclusive game.
It's wild.
It's wild. But they went and to do this, you have to have content. Well, you can't have a successful platform and have no content that is exclusive to your platform. So they've went on a fucking buying spree the last 2 years. I've bought like 24 studios, and there's like 20. There's 27. They bought 24. The 25th they bought was Bethesda for like $7.5 billion. And there's 2 more. One's rumored to be Sega.
Holy shit!
Yeah, and the other one is like a middleware producer. They have some like license exclusives with. But the whole idea is to have the biggest. I mean, Bethesda's huge. Like the Elder Scrolls and Fallout games. It's not that. It's also Doom. It's Prey. It's Dishonored. It's a bunch of other very popular games that now will be Xbox exclusives. And there's this big argument going on, like, oh no, they're not going to do that. It'll be, you'll be able to be multi-platform. Like,
sounds like hope porn to me.
Yeah, like a company does not shell out $7.5 billion to be able to play Elder Scrolls 6 on PlayStation 5. It's not going to happen.
No, if they do that, it'll be something with like how Sony did the Metal Gear series, which is they'll retroactively release them for competing consoles. So like the Metal Gear games, like I can get them through Xbox.
Yeah.
But like through the arcade, like they're not anything like current level or anything.
What people are saying, how and it can go either way, because they're like, Microsoft. I mean, it's platform agnostic. If you want to pay $70 to play Elder Scrolls 6 on PlayStation, we still get money off of it.
Yeah,
that's one argument. But the other argument is they only allow you to play those games if you allow Xbox as a game service on the PlayStation.
That's a smart chess move.
So right now you have they have all their backwards compatible stuff. So going forward in 2 years, with all these studios they bought, start producing content and making games, and they're on Game Pass day one. Like, it makes sense, because like Netflix has something like 50 million subscribers paying $9 a month.
Yeah,
that's an insane amount of money.
Yeah.
That's more than selling consoles can do you. So
which is true. It's that subscription.
Yeah, subscription.
You don't have to worry about anything.
Yeah.
Like nobody. All you need for Netflix is you just need a device.
Yeah.
Like that's all you need, and most devices, they cater their software to work with that device.
Mm-hmm. And that's like their whole thing is like Xbox will be a platform. So like I said, you can get your iPhone and I think now you can hook an Xbox controller up to it and play games.
Holy shit.
Through the xCloud service.
Man.
So I mean, it literally means you can probably sit if you're on during lunch break one day, throw your phone and play fucking The Witcher if you want to. There's actually a picture I saw online of like somebody like on Twitter, the guy's in the hospital, he's playing The Witcher on the Samsung tablet through xCloud. No lag. Like that's, and you got to think when 5G pops out, and if we survive the cancer, we'll be able to do that. But no, that's like, that's real big nut swinging alpha fucking gorilla bullshit to go buy Bethesda.
Yeah. It's in a way it's kind of like showing a future for where, like, even like the video game industry, they're like, oh no, we're cornering the market.
Yeah,
like,
it will be like it is with Netflix and Spotify. You won't own your media.
Yeah,
you'll be renting it monthly.
Yeah,
that's in that way. Xbox is very looking. Not saying PlayStation will be a great console or great games, but like I think the long game is on Microsoft's side, and that's what's gonna happen. Like, I mean, no one thought Netflix would take off, but you mean tell me I could pay $15 a month and I can play new release games, and all I gotta do is pay my $15 a month to do that?
Eventually, I think it'll come to the point where they're just gonna, like, you just order your controller, like
they're I saw some game rumor shit that the next generation of Samsung TVs are going to ship with xCloud built into the TV.
What the fuck?
So if you live in you've gigabit fiber internet, you just stream it to your TV and play video games.
Yeah. That TV, I plan on keeping for a hot minute because it's not a smart TV.
Yeah, they can't watch you masturbate.
They can't. Not yet, fellas. Just
They
you only get
probably
the phone.
Let's check it on Colt. Oh God!
Again?
The 5th time today?
He's gonna beat his old record of 13 if he doesn't stop this. Well, shit, man. Got about close to 3 hours here.
Another banger.
Hell yeah, dude. Thanks for coming back.
The pleasure's all mine.
We'll definitely I guess let's shoot for a Christmas special if you're down.
Yeah, that's fine. We'll be well after the election, and I'll know if the country's going to stand or not.
I've got
I might be in my bunker by then. You don't ever know.
I've got coming up a couple of guests. Got been trying to find.
How did you get Joe Biden on the podcast?
I mean, I just know people. I think what happened was Sean Puffy Combs listened to my last podcast.
Oh, okay.
And then he was like, "Hey JB, you gotta check this guy out." No, I wanted to get and it looks like it's going to come to fruition. A guest on that is anti-Trump, and a guest on that is pro-Trump. I may have to end up doing some Zoom calls with it, but I want to have that as like different perspectives before going into the election.
I got a question for you before I get up and leave. You turn everything off. Have you actually thought about setting up like a podcast room?
Well, currently just renting, right? So if I end up if I end up buying this place, then what I essentially am going to do is sort of wall off, like right here.
Yeah.
So that way, like, there's still a kitchen. We'll still have a bathroom that's accessible, and then keep it separate from like the rest of the house.
Where are you going to have your dining room table at?
No, I mean elsewhere.
I'll just eat at the couch like a slob.
Elsewhere, you know. But eventually, like I said, this is still in its infancy. You know what I mean? This is 23rd episode, so I still like got a lot more content to make. But yeah, for definitely want to get so the idea of all 4 of us or whatnot at a
that's gonna be a fucking nightmare.
at a round table. But yeah, man, shit, dude. Thanks again for coming on.
Anytime.
Later, y'all.